227,000 here, just getting initial jobless claims data week over week. 227,000 downside versus the expected 235,000. 1% for retail sales for the month of July. That's versus a 0.3% consensus estimate there. 0.2% was the forecast. Full 1% to the upside. Again, the initial jobless claims data, 227,000 versus 239, the forecast, 235 was the consensus estimate, 1.86 million on continuing claims versus 1.88 million. So downside ever so slightly if you consider the ongoing factor there. Philly Fed business conditions, 15.4 coming out for the month of August versus 38.7 on the last print. That's pretty much it as far as significant data prints this morning. We do get business inventories coming up at 10 o'clock this morning. Few Fed speakers back on the microphones once again today. But initial jobless claims should help this argument, at least for a continuation in this ongoing rally. And there we go again. Market off and running already. 0.77 here for the NASDAQ, S&P. A little bit less, but still back in positive territory. What a week it's been for the market alone, tech specifically, but looking for 6 days in a row here to the upside after what happened last week. It's crazy.
I was saying to Sean yesterday off camera, I'm like, we're due for a red day, at least something over here. It's too strong, 6 days in a row after that Black Monday. Full employment and stable prices are the mandate of the Fed. So weakness again in the job market. We'll have to see if that continues. The non-farm payrolls missed by 100,000 or so last time. So weakness in the job market, Brendo. And we saw with the unemployment rate went up. Hourly increase went down as well in terms of hourly wages. So, yeah. Some slack.
Yeah, more argument or more data in the favor of the argument for a rate cut to come in September. As we were saying, both the PPI, if you missed it this week, both PPI and CPI coming out supporting that argument as well. 0.66, just watching the market here, a bit of a pullback. 0.66 for the NASDAQ right now. S&P about 0.5%. Huge move. This is Nike. Huge move to the upside this morning for Nike, above $82. We're testing that aftermarket level right now. Bill Ackman loading up on Nike, dumping most of his Google position, few other sales on the part of Bill Ackman, but huge buy here for 3 million plus shares for Bill Ackman.
And he's been in it before, 2017 to 2019. He made $100 million on that trade. It's not chump change, so he's backing it again, less activist from basically 2022 onwards. So we'll have to see how much, he tries to push the board here.
Yeah, it was a bunch of 13F filings that came out after the close yesterday. That was just one of them. A few others I'm sure we'll discuss, but huge move here, guys, for Nike. Good morning.
Yeah, great move in there for Nike. The other, the Berkshire 13Fs selling Snowflake, apparently. So they're down a little bit. I think there was also like a downgrade or something for Snowflake. So they're down a bit, but big move for Nike. But how about retail? Walmart, 7 points, the upside on their beat. And look at Amazon on sympathy. Well, Amazon being Amazon too. Making fresh highs, up 2%, looking very strong over in that name. The market is flying again. So I didn't realize we were even calling last week Black Monday. It doesn't feel like
this is the best.
Black Monday was, a little bit worse than what we had last week. Like last week, things seemed like they were going to be really bad, but there was no continued selling. If you get a Black Monday, I'm pretty sure at the open, everyone's not buying everything they can find in sight. But yeah, glad to see the markets up again.
Yeah, me not being here last Monday is a black memory for myself. But no, look, Nike, let's go. This is Katina Capital's week for some reason. Like we had just recently bought Starbucks. We had just recently bought Nike. And then boom goes a dynamite to the upside. The thing is, this is just a filing. Bill Ackman could be out of all of this already, right? So we have no idea if he's still in, out, or what. So we'll have to wait to see what this means. But it is bumping its head right here. You know what else is going right now? NVIDIA is also going up to 119 and starting. Look at this move. Look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA's up $2 in 3 minutes here, just blasting higher and higher and higher. We can talk about Amazon up $4. That was a great name there that Neil brought up. And then on the sticky note today, we talked about this the last couple of days. I talked about it yesterday with Ryan Faluna. I talked about it with Brian Shannon. I talked about it with Chris Bretcher, everybody. And that is that what's going to happen with retail? How strong is this consumer? And yeah, Walmart today answering the question, answering the bell, up 7, almost 8% right now as the market is rally central. I mean, this is fantastic. The only name that I got to worry about right now to get off the mat a little bit here is going to be Google, and it's starting to go a little bit. I mean, doesn't look as dramatic. Would like to see this break a little bit higher. I actually wrote down on here, a breakup is a positive for Google. I think that increases and unlocks value, but right now its search is a problem in my opinion because I said this yesterday. Just the fact that there's so much use of some of the AI search platforms and whatnot now. Feel like Google and Gemini needs to figure that out, and they will. But all right, yeah, so some huge names today. Whether or not you like retail, anything. Well, you have Nike, the Starbucks, the Walmart, Home Depot from day 2 play, Ulta Beauty, they're going Amazon. I mean, Amazon will definitely be traded. So many things to do. We also have JC Peretz coming through today at 10 o'clock, so we'll see what he's up to, see what sectors he likes and whatnot. I'm sure Brendan has tons of questions for him, and it should be a fun one as we go forward. So, yeah, JC at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it should be good. Anything technical we'll touch on with JC coming up today. We were talking about this one, popped up midday yesterday, SIGA, huge move into the close, little low float type pharma name. Got absolutely killed then after the close yesterday. Their main drug, so the company's Mpox drug, failed to meet its main goal in its latest study. So right back to $7 here after ending the day. I mean, this thing was $12.50 yesterday.
It's ridiculous. I can't believe we're having another breakout of this. And we're having it in Toronto as well. A lot of number of cases in the city. We'll have to see. Concentrated in Africa. This was formerly called monkeypox, now changed its name to Mpox. We'll have to keep an eye on this one and any other companies developing a possible vaccine for this drug, Brendo, but tough luck right now.
Yeah, really. I mean, especially the way that this thing ended yesterday. I mean, a lot of people probably at least holding a little bit overnight here. That's a tough look for SIGA, guys.
Yuck. Yeah, that's a rough one, but you know, that's the risk. When any kind of these pharma names, you know, when it's all into one drug, essentially, that your overnight risk, your news risk is always going to be this big. You can get cut in half at any moment. It's no different from if you have a small cap that could go for an offering anytime. So yeah, I don't like to see it. Obviously, it sucks here, but the only trade I would think about for something like this is, okay, does it find like some kind of ridiculous halt bottom or maybe like a $5 or $6 level, something like really simple like that could be an SSR bounce because it's down like 40%, and at some point usually they'll catch a bit of a bid with an extreme move, or go back to where it had some support before, like $8 or like this 870 level, and if it pops into there, gives a curl, then you can fade it back in. Those are a couple of ways that I would trade it. Definitely after the open. $7 stock, 11-cent spread. Check that. Yeah, 11-cent spread as I currently look at it. So you want this to open up and see what it does. If it does like a halt down and then bounce play, that could be interesting off of the open, but probably something extreme would get me to trade this.
Another play yesterday that, again, we had talked about both these names, and as the news came out about monkeypox there, you know, huge move up from at 1 p.m. there, starting at $2, ends the day up in and around $1 higher than that, giving itself about a 50% or so move, and then created more value here today, up to $3.80 right now for GovX. So SIGA probably going to be a little more exciting because of the move down, but GovX might be the one that's a little more stable and something to look at. So I would prefer to trade this. I mean, SIGA's probably going to be the better trade, but as far as like trying to find a level or something off this, what about like into yesterday's close, 340? You get a little bit of a dump down into this name. I think that's down another 10+% if this comes back into 340. So that would be something to look at here for me on GovX. And then, you know, I would just say Moderna, I mean, the roller coaster that is this stock continues. You know, I mean, this is like meme-like pretty much. You know, you go from 170 there in June 1st. Like June 1st, so that's a month and a half, 2 months and a half. Wow, mid-August.
Crazy.
All the way to the downside and basically retracing right back into some levels. So if I knew more about this business, and not to say that I know anything about Nike or Starbucks, but this is kind of looking like an opportunity to pick something up at a decent level right here that does have this kind of an opportunity to go back to the upside. But I believe this was the earnings, was not great, came right back in. And then, you know, as some of the studies go, you sort of swing and miss on different opportunities, and sometimes you swing and hit home runs. So Moderna, definitely something to look at here if you want to get diversified into some biotech. I still like the technology within Moderna. I think there's some cancer treatments that they were working on as well, so I think that's important. Yep. But we'll wait to see what happens on there. Moderna, SIGA or SIGA.
Is it SIGA?
I don't know. Right? Faluna yesterday was calling it SIGA, but I'm pretty sure it's SIGA, but I have no idea. It's like Mara.
Oh, there's no way.
You're not running a marathon. You're running a marathon.
Well, that's the best one because it's obvious.
I know, and we just sit here and just keep repeating the same stupid.
No, I'm still calling it Mara. I still call it Mara.
Everyone's calling it Mara.
Yeah, like what are we gonna do?
I think no matter who we have on the show, we're like, hey, what do you think about Mara? They're like, oh, okay.
I like SIGA. SIGA, I think.
I mean, I don't know. People might know this a little bit better.
If its short float was more than 14%, if it was 30%, maybe you'd call it SIGA. But now I'm calling it SIGA.
Why am I getting updates on like Threads? Like I never click on Threads, so I'm muting that one.
You get update, really?
Well, no, I just got breaking news. Dow futures jumped 200 points, you know? So it's like, and then I got something from Threads. I was like, I went, okay. All right, desk.
Yes, this is a desk.
For these purchases. Sure. All right, we were just going over, here's that, we were talking about Warren Buffett's 13F. Here's kind of a summary of what happened. Well discussed the Apple sale. Tough to see there, but 49.3% downsize for Apple. Chevron, he sold a tiny bit, 3.5%. Oxy, he bought more of. I mean, the real notable one is down here, the ads, this Heiko Corporation and Ulta Beauty, 690,000 shares being added here. So, I mean, everything else is just kind of trimming, I think, 10.8% of T-Mobile. Capital One, 21% of his position comes out of Capital One. So, other than that, it was kind of
some of those like are a bit of a head scratcher. Some of them just are kind of self-evident. Like Capital One, possibly credit delinquencies going up, probably maybe looking to de-risk. Ulta Beauty, interesting. That one's been a good margin game. The one that really caught my attention were two ones. The Siri ad, Sirius XM satellite radio. Not really sure what they're doing there. If there is going to be a possible new, maybe a new acquisition, like a Joe Rogan type, like they already have Howard Stern, etc. I think there's Eminem as well. Yeah. And the other one, Brendo, Chubb. That's like I was telling you, the champagne of insurance companies, high margin business there to add to the Progressive.
Yeah, he bought a lot of Siri, the A, B, and C shares as well, which is, like Sharif was saying, kind of strange. But anyway, here's Ulta, 10.5% for ULTA today, guys.
Yeah, good day for Ulta. And he did Snowflake, which you won't find in his holdings anymore because he didn't add and he didn't subtract a little bit. He sold all of his Snowflake stakes. We no longer hold that, but Ulta, maybe this is the bottom. Let's see. You never really know. You hate calling bottoms on stocks because when they're in like a bit of a reversal or a downtrend, just because you bounce one day on earnings doesn't mean it's a start of something. But if it can hold back above like 370, that's your support. This is like 377. So getting back into that range would be a good start for it. I think that's why when it got into the 70s in the pre-market and the aftermarket, you're selling back underneath. That's that previous support level, which looks like it's turning into resistance right away. I'm going to have Snowflake on the back burner here because, the big cap tech today where the market's going up, like NVIDIA is going to be in play, no question about it. Walmart, obviously. Nike, day 3, I guess we're calling it. I didn't get to trade yesterday, but day 3 since that breakout that it had. You're going to have NVIDIA as always in play, maybe Intel on some weakness, but Snowflake, it's not exactly fallen apart here. And if he's done selling the stake, kind of pulling this up and looking at the 120 area, what's more like 121. Like if it holds on to this, I wonder if you can't catch a little bit of a relief rally at the old over-under level. If it holds this support, which is tested and bounced 3 times, then it's good. If it loses it, it's got a gigantic gap to fill underneath that 120 level. So the support's more like the 121, but if this loses 120 today, all bets would be off for snow. Mr. Buffett doesn't seem to want to be in it anymore.
Look, we talked about this on the Market Recap show. It's actually, and I've said this for a very long time, and obviously this is just more proof of it. The stock market is a rigged business that you can't win unless you're playing with big money or you have time in market. Ulta Beauty did nothing at all for their business. Nothing. They had a horrible report. It was horrible. But somebody comes in and buys it, so then it goes up 11%. You know, it's like, Warren Buffett, just buy something else and just get it, put it on your 13F, then maybe get out of it today and make your 11 or 12%. You know, why don't you do the same thing, Bill Ackman, with Nike, right? I mean, it's just like nothing's changing. Starbucks at least makes sense. They get a new CEO, stock goes up. Whether or not that goes up too much, I think it did. But at least it's some sort of change of business. You know, these are flailing companies where all of a sudden the rich guys just go in there, buy the bottom, make sure to tell everybody about it, right? And then as it pops up, we have no idea if they've sold or not. It's just like day trading. This is why 98% of the people that sit in these seats fail, is because it's rigged. You can't win. You can't win. You know, but you got to be patient. You got to be there. It's great to have stocks like Nike. It's great to have stocks like Ulta Beauty. And it's really great to be in some of these names. So congratulations. I mean, I wish I was in this. You know, we've been in a lot of these names. I like ELF. We've talked about ELF again. But they're unfortunate that, you know, some huge billionaire investor, trillionaire might as well, however much cash this guy has on the sidelines, you know, he can come in tomorrow and announce that, hey, I bought ELF as well. And then all of a sudden, nothing that ELF has done, and this stock would be back to 170. So, you know, this is what happens. I think you gotta follow the smart money, and that's what they call it. And unfortunately, the rest of us are sitting here like dumb money, hence the movie. So congratulations. I think it's great. This is how the rich keep on getting richer, and yet we anoint them these amazing, amazing investors. So congratulations to having a crap ton of cash.
I was just hearing, guys, there's a couple of calls going on right now. Home Depot is moving around here. I just saw it pop up in front of me. It's a nice move back to 360, yesterday's high. But I'm not actually seeing anything on this, but a little bit of volume coming back into Home Depot. I mean, we touched on it yesterday. Retailers, as you mentioned, you know, Walmart, nice look today, taking out the highs here, 74.50. I'll double check on that one, but I mean, retail in general, pretty good week here.
Yeah, Walmart was a good look here, Brendo. Really impressed with how they did. Sales grew in their regular stores 4.2% year over year. Sam's Club grew even more aggressively, 5.2%, and their e-commerce, both nationally and internationally, just blew it out of the water. Double-digit growth there, 21% for the U.S. growth for international e-commerce, 22% for national revenue as a whole company, 5% year over year. So it's a beat everywhere.
Yeah, CFO speaking right now for Walmart. The call, though, started 8 a.m. this morning, guys.
Yeah, I mean, Walmart's one of those places where they can pass on cost hikes to the consumers and do well. When you have the economy in a downturn, everyone's going to turn to them, and they do well. They've been expanding, obviously, their business. Groceries has done fantastic for them. So it's been great for a while with Walmart, and it's just blue sky setup right now. It's above its 52-week high. You're making fresh tops here, so you don't have any levels to go over with for Walmart, unless you want to just talk about like 75 even. So, you know, when I look at Walmart today, it's like the previous high was 71.33. So if it wants to back down into that one, that'll be a dip buy. But I just feel like the trend is going to be your friend. Walmart has been a fantastic trend to the upside. Daily chart, weekly chart, all looking absolutely fantastic. That's it today. This is it on a weekly. It broke the high, dips back into previous resistance is the way I like to go with things like this, or just try to follow the trend. That's what I put on my note. It's already trending up. The first support was at 72.5. It happens to be view up. It doesn't necessarily matter to me, but if you pull back into this or pull back into one of these zones, we're going to like it.
I mean,
Mine's actually pretty fresh. Thanks, Randy. Yeah. I got two. So Sean got me one, and then Adara got me one. So I got like a double hit, and it's still hot. So I'm still good.
I'll take one. How's it going, Randy? Thank you for all the love in the chat. you know, I mean, this is what we're doing here is entertaining, hopefully giving you some opinions and telling you the way we feel and not trying to hold back anything. So that's what that was. I don't even know what we were talking about. So with that note, let's go back to the desk.
Just reading a note here on Amazon. Also, pretty good start. 175 right now for Amazon, up 2.8%. Amazon's going to start testing Prime air drone delivery service in the UK. Yeah, that's happening. We were just saying, I mean, I live in a building. Could they drop it right on my balcony so I don't even have to go downstairs? That'd be
Just
great.
imagine it, Brendo. Every building's got a little drop-off port on the roof,
great.
right? You go up, you get your package in a matter of minutes. I'd be good with it, no problem.
I mean, the whole market running here, guys, but Amazon on an absolute tear so far here.
I want to address right here. Thank you so much, Kyle Burdett. Sean saying the quiet part out loud. Won't hear those kind of truths on CNBC. Probably not. So that's what it is. You got to figure out who's paying the bills, right? Okay, so right now, Amazon, huge move up to 175 today. I am, again, we sat here when Amazon was getting crushed, and we bought Amazon into this dip. We talked about this. We added shares in our swing account and our long-term account. Amazon really working off the bottom. I don't know if there's a Mag 7 name that I want to buy better on dips. We already bought our Google. I don't like Apple as much. I don't like Microsoft as much. I really, really like Amazon. That's all we ever talk about is sort of the battle that Amazon's had. They're up near $200. We had a huge sell-off from there. We know that Jeff Bezos was emptying some of his clip out there as well. And then it fell back in, right? I mean, there was worries of recession. There was worries about a weak consumer. We saw many names come to the downside. We just talked about that, Elf and Ulta Beauty and all those names. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a nice push down into 160, 170. And now you're getting that relief rally a little bit here. And this is what I'm just waiting for the Googles and some of those other names to get back off the shelf again, even like an Intel, you know, where you're down so far. At some point, you have to understand that nothing's really changed with the business. If anything, it's getting better. So I still like Amazon. I'm not going to sell any of this, at least until we get back to the 50-period moving average, which is 185. I really like this 190 level as a possible, thank you so much, Randy, as a possible resistance area right there for 190-ish on Amazon. So for me, it's a long today. I actually didn't write down anything on Amazon because I was focusing on Walmart, but I think a pullback into VWAP always makes sense to me. So that's something that we'll look for at 173.50. Appreciate the super chat, Kyle Burdett.
Yeah, first stock we pulled up when we opened the show with today was Amazon because it had the strongest reaction. It was already up, and then when we got that number, the jobs number, it was obviously a big move to the upside. Amazon was one of those names for me where on the weekly chart, it got to the 50 on the weekly and breached it heavily. But so it is what it is. Like a few weeks ago, it was not like a Black Monday buy or anything like that for myself because it had already pulled back into that support level where, you know, my long term, that's where I wanted to grab it. It was really just going back to even for anyone that bought it on the weekly at that level. Do you get all the way back up to 188? I think that's a big, big level for Amazon. If it gets up there, it's kind of like head and shoulders, previous highs, all that good stuff. It spent a long time. If I pop this to, let's go to like a monthly. Like it spent a long time with this as a chop zone on the way up when you look at it in a monthly chart. And that was right in here in that high 70s into 180. So I think if you had trouble in here, it would make a little bit of sense. That said, you know, today it's a strong stock. My initial look was, and again, when you write these or you make a note in the morning and the stock decides to go another % or two, previous high was simply 172.33, looking dip back into that. So finding the trend early would be the way to go. It's just, it might have to pull back rather heavily for any kind of a dip buy. Don't think I'd be buying it at 175 at 9:30, that's for sure.
Lots of upgrades and downgrades to talk about today, starting with Deutsche Bank upgrading Robinhood here and raising its price target to 24. Robinhood also announced its July operating numbers too, which were pretty well received yesterday after the close. A good look for HOOD. Dutch Bros here up 3%, getting this upgrade from UBS. Progressive being upgraded by Goldman Sachs, and Morgan Stanley upgrading Nucor. Downgrades, quite an interesting one to start off this list. It's Snowflake with this downgrade from Wells Fargo. They're down almost 4%. In addition to that selling we had revealed through these filings, we also have Snowflake's earnings after the close on Wednesday. So keep an eye on this one. We have Kellanova getting downgraded by RBC Capital Markets after Mars announced his acquisition of the company. We have LVS with Las Vegas Sands getting downgraded by Argus. And last but not least, Wells Fargo downgrading M&T Bank, guys.
Curious downgrade when the company gets, I guess if you have like anybody that had like a really high price target on Kellogg's, Kellanova, anyone that had a big price target on that has to adjust it because now you know exactly what it's going to be worth. Robinhood's at least interesting. I mean, a lot of things are breaking out, so you like things that are moving into new price territories, but Robinhood did eventually break that 19. Like yesterday, again, I wasn't here yesterday, but it failed this break at 19, which sets you with an obvious high, and consolidation break from 19. That gives you a really easy level to play off of if we go dip by hunting. But you know, Amazon on the list today, Nvidia on the list today, Intel for bad reasons, not necessarily good ones, and then you throw in Nike as well, looking pretty good, Walmart. So it's going to be hard to work Robinhood into any trades. But that 19 looks pretty good. Yesterday's highs now up 4% for Hood.
Look, what's on your official watch list today is an exact idea for Robinhood. $18.75 down to $19. We're going to be buying those dips. We nailed Robinhood the last couple times we traded it. It was a fantastic stock. And again, I like the stock. Bring it back into 19 bucks. Again, when we're writing this thing, we're down here at 19.15, 19.20, so it's a little easier to say get long at 19. But now dips into VWAP. That's where VWAP was at the time, 19. Now you're up a little bit higher than that, 19.10-ish, probably around open. Yesterday's close was 18.75. So I just think in and around this area, if we do get a dip down, I mean, again, wrote this all before this. So yeah, we really like Robinhood. It's on the stick. We only have a couple ideas. Go over to @TraderTV Sean immediately to go find this out. We have Palantir, Walmart, Google, Robinhood, and some Starbucks love as well for that there today. So yeah, I really like Robinhood. It was the number one idea for me on those upgrades and downgrades. So we will be looking today. I mean, I like Walmart, but Robinhood, again, a top 3 trade idea for me here today.
With no interest rates. Just be aware, we were just talking about the JPY, the Japanese yen moving here again. This was that move into last Monday that caused that just absolute mess in the market. We're right back up again after this. I mean, it appears to be just on this data at 8:30 this morning that we got in the US, but huge pop here for the dollar yen back to the upside once again. So we're right at 149, 150. Absolute monster level is 150 for the yen if you zoom out on a higher time frame. So moving around is the Japanese yen this morning once again. Let's get a look at the overall market here.
Yeah, 54.77, guys. That's where we closed out yesterday on the ES September contract. We're above 5,500 already in the pre-market. So let's use 5,500 as a possible level of support. If we do retrace, 5,550 as our forward resistance.
If you haven't done so yet, make sure you jump down to the description of this video. There's a link there for the watch list. All you have to do is hit that link and then enter your email address. We send you everything you need to know for free every single day. In the pre-market, just head down below, in the description, you'll find that link. We didn't even talk about this morning in the first 30 minutes, but JD and Baba moving in opposite directions this morning. Although Alibaba with a nice little bounce underway here so far, still down 2+% after a miss for their earnings.
Yeah, they continue to suffer from their traditional business. So, for example, their Taobao and Tmall, which are their online shopping locally there in China, facing a bit of a slowdown. They're able to make that up a little bit vis-a-vis their cloud segment, which is growing quite aggressively, 32% year over year in terms of cloud. And they're also performing better in their overseas online shopping segment, Brendo, with AliExpress.
Yeah, here's JD.com heading back towards day highs right now, guys, up 2.7. Sorry, my mistake, 4.8%. The short float is 2.7 for JD.com.
Game, essentially.
No, I think hole-in-one is more rare.
We just found out Patrick just walked by and told us that one of our good friends who traded with us back in the day and his good friend as well. No, was it George? Oh, it was Joe. I think he said George. Oh, okay. It was one of the traders. One of the traders on the floor got a hole in one. So we're trying to figure out, like, in terms of rareness, like, that's bigger than a perfect game in bowling, right? Like, I'm not a big
bowling. I don't know.
I'm not a big. I don't know. Is it?
I think it's harder to get a hole in one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive. Obviously,
because no matter what your skill level, like you got it. There's such an aspect of fluke to
True.
it. I mean, it's like a whole. Like you're talking about, like getting a ball, into something like smaller than this.
Yeah, which is nice.
From. I mean, it was. I know the course they play is probably. Yeah, 90 C sub 100 yards.
100 yards.
But still doesn't matter.
Still,
it
it's
doesn't matter,
still
even to hit it in 20 yards. Well, whatever. But anyways, at the end of the day, I feel like it's one of the most rare things you can do.
Yeah.
Especially for like just casually going out and golfing. I mean, it's not like we're professionals around here, but that is amazing, man. I mean, most people in their life, as you asked, won't ever do that.
I'm happy if I get par.
Par. I mean, par would be great.
Par is unbelievable in my opinion.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The dude probably still shot like,
better than me.
What? He did. Okay, so he's a golfer then.
Oh,
so
he's good.
He almost shot par. So so he's a golfer there. So okay.
Bob ain't shooting par. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Alibaba. They're only down 1.7%. I feel like that's fine. They missed basically everywhere. We just sort of talked about that right there. I know you guys are looking at JD as well, but I'll look over these numbers again today for Alibaba. But not great on the top and the bottom line. But the thing is that it was a drop down. As I was just reading it right now, 29% year over year on their net income. So that's a drop. So that's not great. Making less money over there. The company also reported quarterly sales of $33.47 billion, was just missed by a couple $100 million. So, of course, by missing by a couple $100 million, you should probably lose a couple billion in market cap. So there it goes, all the way down there to the downside. Revenues increasing. I like to see more about what their cloud is up to for Alibaba. But we know retail is strong. We've already got that proof. So for me, if Amazon's trying to rip up today, Walmart's trying to go up, these names are going up. I think Alibaba deserves to go up. So, I'm obviously a shareholder down there and much lower than where we are now. But let's just wait to find out what happens with Alibaba. I like the stock. I wish it was going the other way, and I think it deserves to do that. So down here at 76 to me is a buy for Alibaba. We'll look at it, though. Last thing I want to do on such a strong day is buy weak names. So let's just wait to see if Alibaba can turn into a strong one, and that would happen first of a test of VWAP and then a bounce back higher. So for me, we'd be patient today with Alibaba, similar to my Palantir thoughts.
I feel like Baba, it's right at a big level, so it could always just hold 78 here and look a heck of a lot better than trying to find the support levels. But if it holds above 78 and starts trending, there's room to get back to that 81. It's hilarious because, well, it's not hilarious. I had written down 81.50 for a trend breakout on a post earnings if it could have gotten there. Now the only play is going to be going into 81.50 if it can hold this 78. JD's a little stronger, obviously, as you can see. A bit of a breakout. Volume, good. I mean, JD's chart, I don't want to call it. Yeah, you know what? There's not like the 15-minute chart looks pretty good on JD, but it's trying to make a bottom here that it's pretty difficult to do unless you take out and get above like both these major moving averages. The 200 periods at 26.90, which is pennies from where we are now. The 50 periods at like 27 change. So basically, if you just break out the quarter, or better yet, the 27.50, you're getting both of these major moving averages here on JD. So Baba needs it to hold 78 at the open. JD needs to get above that $27.50 level, and then I think it has a chance. So neither one of them is setting up exactly at these prices, but it's worth keeping an eye on because I like when stocks recover off a bottom and then get back above that major moving average. You can get a bit of a trend reversal because JD's it's not been a good one for a while. You get back to that major moving average and break it out, things can get exciting again.
All right, ugly day yesterday for Intel, trying to bounce right now with the overall market back to 2020 here. SoftBank, long story short, SoftBank going to shelve, I guess, plans to develop a AI-specific chip with Intel. So we were trying to get above this level from yesterday, currently that 2020 area, but no luck yet.
I guess we should have known something was afoot yesterday when Intel sold the remaining ARM shares. So here's what happened. Negotiations between Intel and SoftBank to co-develop a chip to compete with NVIDIA fell through. SoftBank pointing the finger at Intel. They're blaming them, saying that they can't meet the volume and the speed requirements they agreed to. So instead now they're going to go and talk to Taiwan Semi, which is obviously Intel's biggest competitor. Taiwan Semi has 66% of the advanced chips world market, Brendo. So
yeah.
6% for Intel.
Yeah, as we said yesterday, a little bit weaker than the rest, but trying to hold up here, guys, for Intel today.
Yeah, I mean, it's up what the market's up because the market bounced, but there's at least two places to look here for Intel that shouldn't be, like, they're not exactly rocket science. Go back a week and a half, and you've got the same upper band, which is about $20.65. You get up there, that's one fade zone. Then you have here, I kind of wrote down 2020 on my note, but if you look just a little bit closer to it, it's like 20 and a quarter or so. Afternoon resistance, there was resistance off this level several times here in the last week and a half. So those are the two places to look for shorts. Right at the open, it could do a pop and fade off that quarter. If the market continues super strong and it breaks away from 30, wait around. That's a good 1.5% move till you get to that high, almost 2% from here to here on Intel. So if it gets up there to 2065 or so, got to wait for it to get to that. But I am looking for this one for a pop and fade. And when the market's strong, let it come to you. But until it breaks out that bottoming channel, you can generally short the resistance levels on a stock like this. So just let it get there.
All right, so we don't have NVIDIA on there, so let's just go back over to the well again. You know, a big, huge stock. Yesterday, we were trading this early, and we lost on it early, but then late, it was great. Like, I could not have imagined this $5 move to the downside. So remember, we got hit there. We were hit pretty bad, but not that bad. We talked about Palantir, and we'll do that again in a couple seconds as well. But, you know, what a great base that was formed between 9:30 and 10:30. I mean, down into here, this 14 to 15. Yesterday, we wrote down NVIDIA 115. Today, I didn't write down any levels. I'm glad we did that yesterday because that was the saving grace for this battle back in NVIDIA. And then we even had some, you know, look at that move into the close. 117, we had this move. If you don't remember, we got $1 right there at the end of the day on those imbalances with a big buy imbalance. As you can see, there's the print there, about 10 million shares or 18 million shares actually, right there at the close. NVIDIA will do 400 million shares, so don't worry too much about that. But you can see it's an outsized buy, and then this, boom, busts the stock higher. So right now you're breaking through yesterday's level right now. This is that 120. I mean, it's 119.50 up to the upside right now. Any pullbacks into VWAP is basically a must buy for NVIDIA. If you did that yesterday, well, you probably wouldn't have done it. It happened within the first minute. That would not have worked. As you can see, it just boom. And finally, the break of VWAP back up is maybe what you wanted, and then a hold all afternoon. So for me now, because we're still a little ways away, and now we said that we had to drop down to $5 unexpected out of nowhere, that could happen again. So I would say I'm not going to buy this early dip at 118, but if we could get into here and then start to barcode a little bit, this for me is the trade. You know, we talked about that rant that we had, real talk. We talked about real trading. Now I'm going to put on some shares at some point here today for NVIDIA, and it's going to be at some of these key levels. So we're going to wait to see if 118 holds. If not, then we're going to have to let this one settle down into 117. So for right now, I mean, I like the stock. I like NVIDIA, and it's the only one in the chip space that I'll be looking at early.
All right, let's go on to Nike here. Sharif and I just talking about some of the other things. We talked about it earlier if you were with us in the first 30 minutes. Bill Ackman, Pershing Square, picking up a ton of Nike. He also bought a ton of Chipotle and not Starbucks.
He does. So. He did a lot of buying and selling, Brendo. Yeah. Let's talk about what he did. 0.2% now he holds of all the Nike's outstanding shares. He increased his stake in Brookfield as well, about 0.3% of all outstanding shares. He's been in Nike before, as I mentioned at the top of the show. 2017, he made about $100 million there. He hasn't disclosed his intentions about whether he wants to become an activist and try to get a position on the board or not. And he also cut his Google stake aggressively from 20% down to 8.5% now in the portfolio. Yeah,
those are the two big ones, as you mentioned. Brookfield to the tune of 6.85 million shares, 3.04 of Nike. But yeah, upping a stake in Chipotle, reducing holdings across the board in Google. Alphabet, Hilton, and restaurant brands.
Well, 2 days ago, Nike was like, there's a lot of things that were flying around the last couple of days. Let's be real. So you can pick your poison as to what was running and what wasn't running. But when something makes a pretty obvious technical break, it's usually where you want to be. You know, example, that Palantir at 30 was just a huge level. If you go back to a daily or a weekly, Nike at 75 bucks and a half, right? So when it broke that level, it was a couple of sessions ago. And unfortunately, the next breakout, which is so very clearly here at that 79, you're gapping through it. So there's no play to take like a 79 or an 80 break because, as I said, you're gapping through it on that news. It was perfectly set up for a 79 or 80 break. But now that you're above it, I still think you can be trend back in. Just be careful if it tries to fill in the gap. Like if you lose pre-market support, 80 and 79 are the spots for me. So I don't want to be looking for this on any kind of a dip and then trying to, let's get here and hold it into like, pick a level 81. No, I mean, 80 and 79 are the big spots where I'd expect to find some support because those were big levels previously of resistance. So trend up, looks okay here. Walmart might be a better trend long. We'll see if that ends up being true. You know, you got to pick a horse. But if you lose that pre-market support level, it's a wait for me back down into 80 or the 79. Whichever one of those two wants to bounce. It's holding VWAP for now. And as I said, Amazon and Walmart, in terms of retail names today, just like a little bit better the way they're trading.
All right, so I didn't write down Nike at all on here. It's funny that we have Nike on here, but we don't have Walmart. I feel like Walmart today, obviously with earnings and in the retail space, we'll talk about Amazon and all that, but Nike being up that 5% again, a good recovery story. I've liked it for a while, but it's been nasty. There's been a lot of traders that have bought this a lot higher, obviously, than where it is right now. I mean, no problem averaging in down here to $90, $94, and then all of a sudden you get that earnings call, and it was horrible back into the downside and basically washed out a lot of traders, I feel like. And now you're getting that bump up, falsely or not, on Bill Ackman. Someone in the chat is just like, yeah, Bill Ackman just a couple weeks ago said hell is coming or something, and then is now disclosing that he's long. But there it is. Nice move to the upside there, $82, $83. Yeah, look, I like that bottom, 70, 72. I don't know if restructuring, just a position here. We'll see what can get going. As Sharif's mentioned before, when you get activist involvement, especially like a Bill Ackman, you can create great shareholder value by hopefully unlocking some of the issues and then dealing with them as they get addressed. Whether or not there's a board seat coming or not, I don't know what the situation is with that. The one stock I wanted to get to, which is going to be, again, if you check out the sticky note, it's going to be the #1 name on there for me today. I was just actually replying to JC Peretz right now, traveling around looking at Tim Hortons. Right there, 69 for Walmart. So this should be the trade of the day, I would think. But again, it's easy to write down 69 when we're down here at 72. And the reason why we wrote that down was that was sort of yesterday's close. But we also mentioned that we want to buy dips into VWAP. Well, hey, that's already worked once right there. Let's see if it works again off open. If we get any dips into $72, $73, that's generally what we look to trade. And again, name dropping again, but Brian Shannon, when there's a gap, fade it back to VWAP. So gap, VWAP, there's your little rhyme, and it's made a lot of sense to me every time we've traded with that strategy. So Walmart again, I mean, look, this has been a big one. We said there was one name we wanted to buy on dips as well in the retail space. We bought the Amazon. The only other name would be Walmart. I do like Costco as well. Let me just check in on Costco. I actually haven't looked at that yet. My father was looking to get some Costco, and me and him had talked about that. We talked about it live on the show, if you remember. And Costco, yeah, I mean, boom. Again, dynamite off these levels. So retail is strong. I guess we're not too worried about anything. And remember, in a cutting Fed, I mean, it's pushing rates lower. Should be good for the consumer. Should be better. Hopefully release some pressure on mortgage rates. Hopefully release some pressure on car notes or whatever that lending happens to be for the average American, Canadian, North American consumer. So I would say that, hey, downside moves for rates should mean upside moves for some of these retail names, and Walmart definitely the beneficiary of that.
Here's the yen move I was talking about earlier. Continuing, just took out the highs once again, pulling back a little bit, but this is a 60-minute chart, so a huge move to the upside here, dollar yen. I want to mention Hood on a higher time frame as well, because this slow grind higher continues for Robinhood, up another 4% here this morning on an upgrade from, who was it, Deutsche Bank? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Deutsche Bank with the upgrade today for Hood.
Yeah, Brian Bedell, the analyst there, increasing the rating to buy, bumping the price target from 21 to 24. He likes the entire sector in general. He likes the brokerage sector. So it's not just Robinhood. But here's what he likes about Robinhood. Solid growth in transaction revenue. We saw that with options in both crypto last time when they reported effective cost control there and diversification of the business, Breno, not just focusing exclusively now on crypto.
JC was actually just emailing me. He might actually be here right now, so I'll run out to the front. $20, big level, guys, if you zoom out here on Hood.
Under the hood? Yeah, 20, you get to 20, I think there's going to be a big crowded trade there at 20. You have to get there first. Just want to quickly point out, if we reclaim 60,000 on Bitcoin, anything adjacent to it, you're going to like for some longs, but you have been fading off a little bit on that. So I think we did mention Robinhood. It's a host of names that are breaking out and dips into previous highs. Like I said, I like the Amazon for that. I like Walmart for that. As far as Hood goes, if it wants to pull back and bounce off the 19, I think you can take a shot at this one. And it looks just as good on the weekly chart here. If you pull up the weekly, a close back, it's so close, but a close above essentially 19, if it can hold these highs, that's your 200 period moving average. It closes a week out here holding on to this. You would have reclaimed in 2 weeks the 50, then the 200, and making a bit of a temporary bottom to retest back up to 25. So 20 is a nice round number. I'd almost wager 25 is a bigger resistance for Robinhood in a longer time frame, but that's kind of obvious because it's the high from about a month ago. So if we can hold on to that 19, I like the continuation here in Robinhood. And if we can hold on to this on the week, that looks even better come Monday for a move from 20 into that 25 level on Hood.
All right. Yeah, look, this is not today's sticky note. That was yesterday's sticky note. All right. So hold on a second. That was from Lava Girl. There it is right here. Today's sticky note, Robinhood, 1875 to 19 longs, right? We had been going long on Robinhood. I remember the last time I think it was on the sticky note was down at 1585 or something like that. What a great move it's been here for the sticky note and Robinhood. I mean, I like the stock. Nice upgrade. Assets under management going higher. Yeah. Pull back in. I'm already bidding 19s. Pull back into VWAP. We'll take that. So we're bidding down here. And then we're bidding at yesterday's close as well, 1875. I don't know. Upgrades and downgrades can go either way. 4% seems to be a lot. But we are trying to get above 20. So we like that stock right there. Again, trying to make that move. Also balancing itself off near this 17 area. Again, coming into play. So we'll have to wait to see if you do get a dip down into that. I don't think so. Since that sort of mess of a day, a couple weeks or week and a half ago, you've now got basically 6 or 7 straight up days. I like Robinhood. I think this is one of the better performing sort of small cap names that you can maybe get your hands on right now. That does have an opportunity to appreciate right back there up into past highs. I mean, if you get a move back to $25, then right there looking at about a 25% move in Robinhood. So I definitely like the name and I like the stock. It's Robinhood and it's a buy. It's one of your top 3 ideas here today. Trader TV Sean on X.
Quietly here, Cisco taking out the highs, bit of a pullback right now to $49, but huge move. No downtick whatsoever after the close yesterday. It was just straight higher on better than expected results here for CSCO.
Yeah, they did. They beat on the top and bottom line, Brendo. EPS coming in higher than expected. Revenue beating expectations as well. But get this, revenue dropped 10% year over year. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And they're also predicting more revenue decline in the coming quarters. They announced more cuts. 7% of their global workforce, sadly, going to lose their job. That's after already laying off 5% earlier this year. That's going to save about $1 billion. They still, though, Breno, declining sales in 3 consecutive quarters. So even though they beat analyst estimate, the business still trouble.
Quietly, as I mentioned here, if that's possible, a quiet 8% on the morning for Cisco today.
It's possible because I would use the exact same term, quietly up that much. It's probably a lot of days you'll have something over 5% to the upside after an earnings play, and it's going to be near the top of most people's trading lists. This hasn't done 1 million shares yet. It's done 500,000 shares in the pre-market. What's hilarious about it is I remember last week, it was middle of the week last week, I think, when Obi sat down next to me in the morning. He's like, oh my goodness, Cisco could break down and look really nasty going into earnings, and you had the reverse. It ends up holding that massive level. So it looked to all the world last week like this was going to be a big breakdown here on Cisco. You're gapping above previous resistance. Yeah, you got to hold on to this pretty clearly at the open. That's going to be a tough job. So this is about 48.5, and then you've got the 50 period as well, sitting right around there. If it had better volume, I think I'd slap this one on the interesting dip buy list. If we lose ourselves at the open, I've marked off 47 to come back to. If this loses that support that you saw on the daily, 47 looks pretty interesting for Cisco. We got other big cap tech that's going to be on the mind, though. I don't think we probably didn't mention Apple. If we go dipping, Apple's got the obvious 220 level. And that 220 where we filled in the gap from breaking out here, very clean. It only took 3 days to get to that 220, and then it held as support, not just 2 days ago, but also yesterday holding that as support. I like the close, which is about 221.70, call it the half, and 220 for dip buys. I'm just trying continuation in Apple. It hasn't always been like the biggest percentage mover, but regardless of what the market seems to be doing, it usually has the easier support levels and the solid trend to the upside. Even when the market gets a bit weak, it's holding its support levels there on AAPL. So I do like that. Cisco, we'll see. If something drastic happens and we lose that 48.5, I do like 47, but that's one heck of a gap fill that's probably would, even if it gets down there, it's not going to be till like 10 or 10:30 or maybe in the middle of the day or something on Cisco.
So the other, Cisco. I mean, Cisco's a good stock there. Nice little move. We talked about that in the the aftermarket show yesterday with Adara and I. Good little report. Fun to trade that name. For me, Google today. This is going to be again. It's on today's sticky note. I like the 158. Again, it looked better when it was at 160, more likely. But just looking at what happened yesterday, look, there's this huge move down, right? I don't know. This could have been the main catalyst for that drop down in the NASDAQ early, as people were a little worried about DOJ, but it looks a lot like NVIDIA, right? Where you had this base and then the rip. But the thing is that not both stocks are alike, because Google basically gave it all back up again before starting to go again into the close. So I remember looking back at this name at 3 o'clock, or it was 3:30. It was too late anyways by the time. I was like, what? I didn't even realize that had happened. That started going, basically there's the time right there at 3:30. So huge move back up there to the upside for Google, and now trying to hold out. So let's see if 160 will work as a dip buy opportunity. I wrote down 158 as like, let's go time. I mean, if you can get anywhere back into anything like this, 158.50, 159, then we're gonna be long on Google. I guarantee you that. So down into here, that's gonna be a name that I like. And actually, I like it so much, I'm gonna put the bid right now for Google. I don't know if we're gonna get there, of course, 158.50. Let's put on some shares down there and just bid in and around this range for some Google. So for me, the big tech trade today, obviously Apple. I mean, Apple was the trade of the day yesterday. P&L number one probably for the month on the show, just for that one trade, and it happened early. And thankfully we had it down here at 220. We had this bid yesterday, this bottom all the way back up to the top there, $2 straight up. So that was a huge dip buy opportunity there for Apple. And then it ripped into the afternoon before I wasn't here for this. And then the close was huge. So Apple still working, and definitely like the stock. A couple minutes until the imbalances come out. But yeah, Apple and Google for me over there, guys. Two stocks I like.
Before we go back to the desk, I'll give you one more, because we haven't talked about any EV names this morning. So I feel like this is, every now and then we don't get to Tesla. It didn't necessarily have a particular catalyst, but let's be real, Tesla moves and does volume every single day, so it's going to be worth it. Over under 204 for me, and 204, kind of obvious level, resistance, broke out when I was here on, today's Thursday, so Tuesday. broke out off the 204 level on Tuesday, continuation, and then yesterday, big dump at the open, only to find immediate resistance back at the 204 level. So holds above, it's good. If we lose the opening range underneath 204, I feel like this is a short back into 199, 200 on Tesla. But though I don't want to be, I can say over under, hey, the opening range does this. I want to find trends one direction or the other. Don't want to fight if it's above, all that kind of stuff. I'm only looking until a trend changes for places to short Rivian, because Rivian failed $15, then it failed $14. It's working its way down to $13. Okay, obviously the imbalances probably just came out on Rivian, so it was at $13.30. I was about to tell you fade into $13.40. I'm assuming a sell imbalance just hit on Rivian because it just dropped about 3%, so we'll have to find some new levels. I don't actually see. Did that even
Rivian
come
dropped
out?
3%?
Yeah, there it is. 3.5 million to sell on Rivian. Again, this just like it just happened. We were talking about Tesla. I brought up that Rivian's been a short, and then 3.5 sell imbalance. So shorting off at 13.40 is going to be a different story now that it's Rivian being Rivian. It was up very slightly, and now it's down 2 points already. So a bit of a bounce here happening. Have to let this one settle down after that sell imbalance. Go figure.
I actually feel pretty good about getting out of that Rivian now, in and around, some of them out around that 1850 mark now, is that piece of you-know-what. I actually said a joke. I was hanging out with some people, obviously, during baseball and hockey and all that, and they were talking about EV cars, EV names and cars. And I said, guess how much Rivian makes per car that they sell? You know, and everyone's like, oh, it can't be that much, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, how about minus $328,000 for every car that Rivian sells? So you want to invest into that business, that's great. I think that's not a great business, and glad to have gotten out of that one. And, you know, wow. I know Brendan got out of that too in and around this 14 or so. I don't know what the price is, but I got to clean the hands on that stock right now as well. All right, so NVIDIA did have a little small buy imbalance. Google, not much. Here are the imbalances right here. Just one more time, as we have 3 minutes to go. Rivian with a sell. Cisco with a sell, in case you guys are looking at that. Right there, not affecting the stock with Neil, just looking at that 48.50. Nike with the buy, 200,000. I mean, again, we talked about what was happening there with Bill Ackman. Whether or not he still has the shares or not, Nike definitely getting some action today. I definitely like that stock here. Siri, strange one for me. Again, I don't know if Warren just needs to get some more love into this, but it's not fooling anybody with this. As it goes all the way to the upside, then money comes in and sells this immediately. I believe Siri is a short today. Mara there, again, we love this $15 level. Just going over some names here. We've talked about this over and over again, how much we liked it down here. There is a short float. It is a Bitcoin-related play, obviously. So I feel like this could be just one of those buys here. That's a great swing trade opportunity, especially if you believe that Bitcoin's going the other way right now. Palantir yesterday, my whole day was basically that first trade of the break of $31. That did not work. We wind up losing 30 cents. That was well documented and well talked about, as real trading doesn't get any more real than that. But right now, we'll wait. We have Palantir on here to be as patient as possible into some of these levels. So this time today, let's wait for a dip in Palantir. You saw the move that it had yesterday. I mean, the whole market went down before basing. We were able to get the trade right there long back in, but we had already got rinsed on this first break of 31. But if you're not here to make money, please exit stage left. And sometimes when you're not here to make money, you got to take some risk. And when you take risk and it's wrong, then you will lose. But that's fine, because we actually came back and put on some huge trades after that. So have confidence in what you're doing. Some of the trades will not work out. Other than that, not much else on there. There was an NVIDIA bid that I had seen early that now has been paired away. So that name just floats around here, 19, right? So 119, again, dips into 118, I think can be looked at for NVIDIA, but I do not want to jump the proverbial gun on this one here today, because we saw what happened yesterday, and that really started the day off a little sour. Intel, and remember I said as well, we were looking at a couple different names, and I said it was Robinhood, and I related that to possibly Intel as well. I mean, at some point, you're going to get off this level here, right? $20.70, you're going to get off that. Once you do, then I think you break higher. So I'd look for a 21 break on Intel. With only 45 seconds left, you can find a lot of these ideas on the sticky note with exact levels and trades that I'll be taking.
We're going to this. We got about 30 seconds to go. For those that were just asking what happened on Rivian, at 9:25, a 3.6 million sell imbalance came in on Rivian. That tanked the stock to the downside. With about 20 seconds in here, VWAP is a number, but it's also previous highs in the afternoon on NVIDIA. That will look like it might be a first look. Walmart, we do like for a dip buy, as well as we are going to drop the countdown on this Thursday. Walmart up 8.5 points. Can it even get to VWAP at this point? Let's drop it in 4, 3, 2, 1. Ring it, Adara. Ye old healthy ring of the bell. So initially, a little bit of a pullback happening in NVIDIA. Not a big one. Rivian's at least attempting to get back into the upside. So it is trying to bounce in here. I did like the short off 13.4. The imbalance hit, and now all of a sudden, have to let this one settle down. It's at that $13 level for the over-under. Apple is dipping pretty decently right back into 223. Let's see if it can test that 222 level. But Apple, bit of a dip here at the open along with NVIDIA.
All right, we're going to see about Google trying to go through here 161.30s, try to take out that day's high again. We talked about this name not being one of the ones that has gone ripping yet. So we'll wait to see if we do get that fill. We'll just give it back to somewhere around, I mean, not even VWAP, probably the 50-period moving average. A little too early to take on huge amounts of risk here, but we'll try it one more time here with Google if it does take out sort of that pre-market high of 161.30. I could see it kind of hitting it, then fading back out. So we're going to give it to 160.80. If we break lower than that, then we will get out. So now we are in Google 160 there. We'll get out of a little bit here if it does fall back in, but there's Google. It's your first trade of the day for me, and it's a long, trying to break through that top. So yesterday we lost on a breakout. It looks like it might happen here again, but we've learned our lesson, so let's be a little more patient here with it. But 20 more cents and we're out. We're not letting this one destroy us early. Google, a little bit of a take there on that break. Breaks have not been working for me, and it looks like it's going to happen one more time here again. So 161.30, early try on Google there as the market's, there it goes, it's going to drip out now, as the market tries to go upside here early.
Yeah, the market's trying to take out this top. Well, remember, okay, not everything was strong at the lows, and breaking them was Rivian. It just broke VWAP, got to the previous pre-market support, and came back in under VWAP. So going to go short underneath, give it to that previous level upside here. Just remember, that was a big sell imbalance, and if it does wick the bottom, that would be a pretty big hole. Do not need this getting all the way to 1340 where we originally wanted it short, and then in the same trade. So I'll be out if it breaks here, looking for another short if it does get up toward that high. Apple, did we get? Nope, did not get filled on the dip. Looks like it did get, wow, right into what is VWAP is where Apple got to, no fill. It's pulling back in here again. So Apple pulling right back in for a potential dip buy. Didn't get it the first time through. We'll see if we can grab it the second. NVIDIA is getting close to 117, so got to keep our eyeballs on that one as well. But Apple starting to pull back. Got to 225.
Yeah, same thing here. We got out of 75% of our Google trade, and it's dropping in as well. So there's some moves happening for sure. Even Walmart. So I think, like, we're getting caught up again in the same trades. We're taking stuff Walmart probably a little bit too early and unnecessarily.
Walmart's a VWAP
right now. That's what I'm saying. So Walmart drips down into VWAP again, which has been a level that I said that we should kind of try here if we did get it. But again, a little bit sort of shell-shocked here by some of these trades, but Walmart coming back in. We could trade this maybe off of 73, probably worth a shot here. Walmart coming back into this level. Let's punch a little bit of shares. There goes Google. So Google does wind up breaking through that 160.50. So we will end that trade and just slap a fail on, again, an early break. Not as much damage done this time as Palantir, but early break there on Google going the other way. Walmart falling in as well here. So that stock not participating as well. But there goes Google, of course, all the way back up now. As we see, there's the drop off there at 160.50 at the 200 period. Maybe be a little more patient down there, my guy, as well. All right, Walmart, we're long Walmart now 25s.
Yeah, Walmart just, well, you already just said it, just came into VWAP. Apple as well pulling right back into VWAP. So you're getting a couple of dips. I'm going to get to Rivian because that did take out that top. I am waiting for the highs. I want highs here on Rivian. If it comes all the way back, I'd rather let it go a couple of points to the upside and then catch it. I'm just going to get an offer out there in front of 1340. If it breaks that out, fair enough. I did not grab Walmart as I was on the other level too, as that's now bouncing off VWAP in $73. Huge move. Even, it looks like, on WMT.
Yeah, huge absolute move there on Walmart, man. We'll just do again, like, you know, we just got to stick with what we're supposed to be doing. If we just held on to that Google, we'd be nicely in the money right now. But here goes Walmart, 30, 40, 50 cents in the money. And again, another trade that we had talked about, right? Buying off VWAP. It's your number one trade idea here today. And let's just see if we can make it happen back there to the upside. So a couple dip buys there on Walmart and some nice outs in the 60s and now into the 70s. Let's get in another piece here. Why not? And then we'll wait to see if we get an 80 and see if we can really start to fly here on Walmart. Google definitely messed that one up as it's still going higher right now. But my whole day rate here is on Walmart, but we've already lost on Google. So was that a call for Adara?
I think so.
All right, Adara.
Be aware here, John Deere, this was another earnings name from this morning, DE. Not a ton of volume on this, but certainly getting a bit of a volume spike, up almost 6% now and at highs of days. Reported earnings per share and sales beats this morning. So DE pushing higher, guys.
Oh man, what a good day again, if not for that first trade. Okay, so right now Walmart, man, stick with the poison that you've been drinking. I mean, we've been sitting here hitting these VWAPs, hitting these levels, giving the big trades. There it is, Walmart right now, 90-cent winner right there for Walmart as we try to get higher and higher and higher. So far so good here. Let's just keep on holding out hope that maybe we can get back into some Google. My Robinhood has not filled yet. That's still here at 1950s or so. Yeah, 1940s. Dip down in. It's too bad because you know where we're bidding on Robinhood? 1910. You know where it got to? 1914. So we'll see if that one wants to come in again here as Google's still holding out to see what it wants to do. Maybe 160.40 for a dip buy opportunity. Let's see if this market really wants to go. We've got Walmart good.
Yeah, Walmart looking fantastic. Great grab. I was on a different level, too. It was so quick off that 73. You had to be lightning fast on it. So good look there. Careful, Sharif. Alibaba just went up a little bit off that 78 level. So trend higher, 81.5. You've got room to 81.5. As long as it's underneath that reasonably, I still like the continuation long. I thought this was a settle down trade. Instead, it's right off the open that we broke out at 78. So let's just see if it can consolidate here, maybe give you some kind of a dip buy. Rivian, we were just able to get it off of the highs. Wow, came right into the highs, 13.4, pulled right back into the quarters. Now you're pressing the highs again. So I'm just going to back off, not sit on the offer when it's trending that much. We took some out. We're pretty happy with it. Apple ran 23s, then held 23s, and looking for it to creep back above VWAP, going to sit at the half for the first leg out there. This is looking weak, even though the market's taking out those highs. And the thing that's going, as I look over, is NVIDIA. So NVIDIA did not get to 117. Instead, it might just be breaking out the top before getting into any of the two support levels. So if can't get the dip buy in NVIDIA and it breaks out the top, it's just going to take the break. It's a double top up here. I thought we'd get a dip into previous support. Let's just break out the highs. It's 1960, essentially.
There it is. We have $1 there on Walmart as it goes back above $74, and we get that fill. Look at that fill right there. 74.15s on Wally's World. All right, so wow. We talked about wanting to buy Alibaba, and I was like, this is a monster. I really like this name. I was even going over the numbers. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. You know, they missed by $200 or $300 million, and they're doing $34 billion worth of sales, and that name was down 2%. Yeah, right. Look at this thing starting to go right back up to the upside now, breaking through that 78 level, which was a level that we had mentioned, but we don't have the long, but that's still a great one for anybody that is in that name. One more shot here on Google. We bought some, then we got some out right there, but that was only for like 15 cents. Now it drips down in. Watch out for 160. Pretty clean level down there. If it breaks it, then we'll be out. We'll try this one more time to the downside on Google. But hey, look, this name has not been strong. We know they have the DOJ issues, obviously, as we've talked about that on the show.
Yep.
And now we'll have to see and sort of sit here with our tail between our legs a little bit, as we did like. Okay, now we're back. Okay, now we're going back up. Now we're going back up to the upside. We've got a nice little long now on this name, as we did buy those 160s, as we mentioned that. So let's take advantage of it at least. And sometimes if you're, there we go. If you're in a name that has not been performing the same way, we talked about this yesterday, scalp out. if you can, and get out at a decent level. You can still make, it's like yesterday on Tesla when we went short, even though it ripped up and we still put that in our pocket. This is a big trade right here, right now on Google, waiting for that 160 and being patient. One more out coming for me on Starbucks, but so far so good. Walmart Monster. Google, we're trying to get back in the pocket with this one. What's up, A?
Chinese ADR is very strong this morning. Alibaba, which initially gapped down there on its report, now up almost 2% here. JD also with a bit of mixed earnings. They're up about 5%. PDD up about 2%. So all these Chinese ADRs related names are certainly on watch as they push higher, guys.
As we mentioned, the first leg's already gone here on Alibaba. So 80 broke out. We thought 78, maybe like a consolidation play, but I'm looking for the dip back in here before 81.5 goes. 81.5 was a double top on the 15-minute. So if it breaks that, still looking for a break. Just didn't think it would happen at like 9:45 in the morning, but that's what happens when the stock is strong. So pull back into 80 and we like it. Tesla is having a moment right now. So Tesla, way gone from the 204 level. God. Forget about it. There was no dip into 204 at the open. It just went straight to 210. So I'm not chasing all the way up here. Look at the resistance at the 210 level. I think it's likely to do some kind of a dip that we have to be patient with. So not going to be dipping into that one. Have to let that one calm down. No breakout on NVIDIA. It's still hanging out off the top. So it looks like it's about to retest either VWAP or maybe those lows at the 117. Bit of a charge to the upside without the break of the high. Might give for a nice consolidation entry here on NVDA. But wow, Alibaba absolutely flying. Going to look to join it if it gives us a chance in front of 80.
Yeah, we like Alibaba there. We sort of...
so fast it moved. Well, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You can, honestly, if you're there, you can get any of these stocks.
Oh, yeah.
You just got to be there. It's like you mentioned Walmart, and I was like, what? And I went right over there and just punched the long. And that's been obviously the biggest stock here today. So nice move there for Walmart. We finally, be patient with it. And we wrote down actually on our sticky note as well to be patient. It's so funny that I wasn't really patient at all as we got into Google pretty much in the first minute. But here we go. Palantir now back above 31. So just dripped into 30.90. We were waiting for 30.75. It comes back up into 31.30 again. This has been definitely a tricky name. We've talked about this over and over again. It just doesn't want to go early, but then it does have a chance to go late, I've noticed. So, let's just let it barcode a little bit down here. If we're able to get something, then that would be good. The market's trying to teeter a little bit lower right now. So we'll have to see. Maybe we do get something in and around this 30.75 area for Palantir. So let's just see if there's Google. If there is a dip down in for this. We did take one little reload there on Google, but we took advantage of that move to the upside. So this last reload obviously will be giving something back, but we took it out initially on that move higher, reloaded it right now. And we actually mentioned that. Remember, we said like when a stock's not performing the way that you're expecting it to, there we go, now we'll drop out, then the best thing to do would be to scalp it out as it's starting to go up. So that was a 160.13 fill, and these fills are in the 50s and 60s. Then right now we just did lose back that 20 cents again. So looks like we should have flipped over to the short right there for Google because it's getting punished back down. We had written down 158. So I think at this time, probably more patience is required. More patience is required to wait for Google. So we tried that long. We'll go 1 for 2 today. Google loser, Walmart winner.
Yeah, patience is definitely the thing this morning. Again, if you had no patience with some of the early breakouts, great, but I was being patient with Baba, thinking we'd get a good trade on it. It never happened. But here comes Apple. Already broke this low. Then it tried to hold on. It bounced off of 222.80. Okay, we'll take it off that level. If it takes out the bottom again, we'll get out. It's starting to consolidate. Needed to have it probably on this backside the third time through a little bit cleaner off of this low. So it's rounding out the bottom, but on the way down, it can always be a tricky one. I don't mind getting out, but sometimes if you just wait it out till it's like, oh, well, if you're in early, you're stopping out here, wait for a couple of times where it's run those stops and then get in when you're going for the dip buy. Sometimes that's what patience means. Allow other people to get out a couple of times before you get in, but it's easier said than done, as you saw a couple of times in there for myself on Apple. Here comes, all right, don't need to just be sitting there on Alibaba's. It's starting to pull back for the first time here. Looking for a bounce off the 80 level, just because it was 80 overnight. It was 80 round number, all that kind of good stuff. So looking for some support to come in here before it gets to 81.5. 81.5 is a pretty good level in its own right on Alibaba. And I'd like to be in a long before it gets to that double top and just be stuck taking only a breakout trade. I do want to get into it if we can. The $0.50 is the first spot that we'll try to take some out or in front of on Apple as we're going to the desk with Adara.
One penny stock and sometimes meme runner on watch here, MULN. This is Mullen Automotive, up basically at highs of day here, up about 16%. They announced their Q3 results on Monday, doing $65,000 in Q3 revenue, but they also have a short float here of just over 28%. Lots of social media attention, so potential day 3 earnings move here with this MULN. Beware of this one, guys.
We've averaged into the only winner today, Walmart, right here, as again drops into VWAP. We take it again. We just get some out at 55 there. It was only 20 cents. We're trying to give it 20 cents to break lower. There's a lot of volume happening right now on Walmart, so I don't really know what's up with that. I mean, obviously we know it's earnings, but and I don't mean my chart is dripping down here. That's my TQQ chart you might have just saw there. Yeah, so dripping down in for this play there on Walmart. If it breaks 73, we'll get out of there for sure. I can't keep looking at Google because it's just dancing around these levels. And right now, I'm just getting like more FOMO that why did we punch out of it when we really didn't need to do that? But we did it anyways. It broke 160. I feel like that's the right thing to do when your levels break and they do not hold. The other name that we wanted to look at, of course, was Amazon. That's not doing anything right here today. So AMZN just hanging around. AMZN would be the right ticker right there. So there it goes. Was looking for a high break. Doesn't seem like it wants to do it. So right now I'm a little bit like just complacent with this market. I'd like to find a trade, but right now there's nothing really hitting. Palantir did break out again to the high side a little bit off that 31, so right back into VWAP again. And I don't mean breaking out, but I guess breaking off from that bottom there, 31, 30, 90. I mean, there's definitely something there with Palantir, but it's not super strong. And then the other name that we'd like to get longer on would be Alibaba, but it's going to have to cut. It's at day's high right now as the market
it actually broke the day's high.
Tesla, people are saying as well.
So Tesla's flying. So before it gets to 81.50, I'm like, look, I want to be long the stock before it gets to 81.50. So Baba took out the local top. There was no dip into 80, so it just broke, essentially 81, just broke on the way to 81.5. Well, I am long it, just barely above that on the break. Going to give it just underneath this is about 80.80, so just underneath 80.80 on the way to 81.5. So 81.5, I can show you guys. There's $81.5 on Alibaba. As I said, want to be long into it without having to rely on taking a breakout trade. So 81 just broke. The scalps them out in front of 81.5. Apple, as I said, patience is always easier said than done. It's now holding above VWAP for the first time. It just got to that 223.5, I should say. So we took some out there. It gets to 224, similar thing. Look for the VWAP to start holding and then holding above yesterday's high. Like it's a price area yesterday's high. Sometimes you let it round off that bottom and now you're catching the bounce. It's about 60 cents in the money. We're looking for that bounce into 224 next on Apple. But Baba's in new position. Still nothing doing in NVIDIA, but patience. NVIDIA is consolidating, looking for a top break here on NVIDIA into $120. Holding VWAP nicely. This is just a limit order if it breaks out the top. Obviously I'm not bidding above the actual price, but it looks like it's going to make that run here to the highs as we speak.
All right, so yesterday, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before I think it was the day before, we were on Tesla and we were battling the long and then we flipped over into the short. Well, shout out to Brittany, but we did it again right now as we're now short Google. Now 20 cents in the money on the short. We just took a piece out right now here at 80s. We're short 95s. We flipped over into the short. I was just like, you know what? I'm tired of looking at all these charts and trying to look for longs when potentially there are no longs right now. So let's just go for something short. Whether or not this works, I don't know. We're now 30 cents in the money. Hopefully it can drip down just a little bit more for us. And especially if this market does go, we already have identified this as a weak name. So 159, that's 159.10, something like that. I'm just going to drop a bid down into that level. If we can get it, great. If not, I do want to average into the short. maybe up here to 160.50, something like that. We'll have JC Peretz coming through soon. We'll be talking all about technicals, and we'll talk to him about some levels and what he uses maybe as indicators here. So, but for me, we are on this 200-period moving average at 160.50 right now for a drip on Google, and it is working like a charm right now as that starts to go to the downside. All right, Walmart, we did reload. We were able to get something out again on the reload there. So we bought some 31s, out 45s, out 55 again. But here comes Walmart right back in, which is fine. We are short the Google, but we're going to go long Walmart right now. So here comes Walmart dripping in. I thought I had a bid a little bit lower than this, right? Okay, we just got filled there. So now we have the last bit of our shares on Walmart as we take those 11s. Now let's see if we can hold out for a little bit higher of a play, man. It had some problems in the 30s, so we'll definitely understand that as here it comes in. We're not going to hold it too much past a drip down through 73. So, oh man, catching the falling knife again here today on some of these names as the market's going upside. So that's kind of the puzzling aspect right now. I thought we had a strong name here in Walmart, but again, trading names off earnings.
It can go, it's hit or miss, right?
Yeah,
especially when it's gapped.
Yeah, exactly. So here we go with Walmart. There, people are getting flushed out a little bit there at 73. Would like to see a little bit of a hold, but we're getting close to getting flattened out on this one. So let's see if Walmart can make its move back up to the upside right now.
So there's look, I'll get to Alibaba in a quick little second. It got to that 81.5 zone, but before that happened, you had NVIDIA break out that high at 119.60, so it just took it out a couple of seconds ago into 120. Want to scalp to the even dollar level. If it breaks 120, we'll play that by ear. But Alibaba, super strong move off to 78, consolidates, breaks 81s. And now you're just flying through that double top for the last few sessions. So on the week, double top is now cleared out. I think we have room to 82. But use this previous high maybe as a bit of a support level. If this can pull back down into 81.5, that would provide with a decent spot to look for a reload position here on Alibaba. That is absolutely fine. I can only imagine if you're not looking at BABA, let's say you looked at JD, maybe that one's going just as well. So good luck for anyone that's long the Chinese ADRs. At least I would assume they're going with Alibaba right now. So getting close to that 120 level. Sellers at 90s. All right, let's just pop down in there and offer some 86s on the way up. So NVIDIA now starting to go to the upside. BABA already running. And yeah, this market looking to take some fresh highs. And NASDAQ can't be stopped. Adara?
This part of the show brought to you by Benzinga Pro. Tired of being late to the trade, always playing catch up in the market, missing out on the big moves because you're too slow to the news? Benzinga Pro is your unfair advantage. Get breaking news alerts up to 30 minutes before everyone else. Pinpoint exactly why stocks are moving and join a thriving community of traders who share their strategies in real time. Ready to see how Benzinga Pro can transform your trading? Visit benzinga.com/pro and get a free 14-day trial. Also worth noting here, we do have comments from Fed's Musalem, who began talking at 9:10 this morning, saying just coming out now here that apparently models are indicating that interest rates are going to likely be higher going forward than they were at the pre-pandemic levels. So apparently some models suggesting higher interest rates on a whole, according to Fed's Musalem, guys.
Thank you very much there, Adara. So one name we haven't talked about yet, the market, again, making some fresh highs. We'll see if 120 breaks or we get a dip back into 119.5 on NVIDIA. Apple's holding the 223.5 zone, BABA holding the $0.50 as well. But it was Amazon that was so super. Okay, now it's breaking out Amazon. Yeah, VWAP holding on Amazon instead of looking at key levels like 173 or like 170. Sometimes, you know, VWAP is just great and the trend up is big. It's not even giving you any kind of a dip to buy into on Amazon. So let it fly, NVIDIA. You're through the 120 level once. Actually, check that.
Has it gone?
That's a bad. No, that's a bad wick.
Yeah,
no.
I'm trying to break it. So
no, it's not. That's my bad. It's breaking it right now. It's still on the offer at 120. Sometimes you get like a wick on the chart and it never really happened, but you haven't broken the 120 level just yet. So good point there. 99s it did test. There's about 1 million or so shares on the offer.
It's good.
It doesn't really matter at this point, but there is a stacked offer that it's chewing its way through to the upside. So the market wants highs. NVIDIA, being strong, wants them as well. I knew I forgot to look at something this morning, and that was going to be ARM, but with NVIDIA at the 120 level, eyeballs will be on that.
Yeah, it looks like it is going to break immediately, and then it just bounces again off of that level. So let's wait to see here what happens with NVIDIA. I'm going to go long on that. I mean, as far as an out, I mean, 119.50. I mean, do you want to hold this 50 cents against you? I don't know, but here we go, coming back in just a little bit. Pulling back is NVIDIA off that 120. The market's super green right now, up 1.6%. So yeah, still wants to go, and that's nice to hear for sure for anybody that is playing this market to the long side. We're back into Walmart. It did break down. We are still green on Walmart, but it did break. So we did buy the dip there on that. We were able to get something out at 24.25 when it first did not break 73, but then it came back in and we got out at 72.90 on that break. And now we're back in again, just trying to give this a little bit of love because the NASDAQ's ripping, but I can see that right now there's obviously, you know, a changing of the guard as we trade NASDAQ names long and some of these value names short right now as here it comes. Okay, so one last try on this. If it breaks it out, and we will be out of that one. Our Google, again, we just took a short. Yep, yeah, that's right, purple. So there's the short there. 160 for Google on the short. We'll see if that can work out again as we are still underneath. Look, market ripping. I mean, we definitely understand that right now as well. So let's go. We are now into NVIDIA. There's the break through 120, but not much else after that as we stop almost on a dime. We are long at 120.09. So yeah, it sucks when you're trading this share size and you get slipped. Sometimes that will happen to you if you trade bigger shares, so they can't fill you until a bigger spot. So, all right, here we go. It's NVIDIA trying to go through. We took out one little small piece there, I think at 15s or something. Yeah, 15s exactly. Nice little drip down back in now for Walmart, or sorry, for NVIDIA. Let's see where it goes now, just hovering around that 120 spot.
Yeah, it's still trying to hold it out. It did make its way back in underneath, and they bought it right back up into the level. So that's looking pretty good on that break, at least temporarily. I mean, anything can happen. We still have Apple, which is bouncing again off VWAP. It looks like it's tracking toward that 225 again. 225, that's a big reversal at 225. So I think if it gets back up there, yeah, I want to take it out in front of 225. Apple is the kind of stock it's not like NVIDIA. If they put up a big number at 225, it can just hold that, and then you'll consolidate for like an hour on Apple. So I want to respect that as well. NVIDIA, I'm trying to get out above a quarter break. So if it breaks these quarters, try to take some out there on the reload on that name. Alibaba still holding 81.5, and Amazon, we liked Amazon for strength. Finding a way into the Amazon long is going to be tricky. I mean, VWAP is $1.50 to $2 from where we are now. The high break in the morning would give you 175.5. So the market looking all kinds of green this morning. Just some missed opportunities. Late to Alibaba, not even in Walmart because it just didn't give any kind of a gap fill. Super strong there. Mara breaking out apparently as well. Where's Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin at 60,000?
Bitcoin's at 59.4 right now, but okay. We
get 60,000. It's over.
Yeah, let's go. 60,000 would be nice. All right, let's get to the high side here on NVIDIA. We're waiting at 120.20s again, so hopefully that will fill. I just put something again at 15 just in case. I mean, I don't want. You know what are we doing at 15s? We're at 18s already. So let's see if we can go. We just missed that fill. Last fill went to 15, which is why I was like, let's go there. But it's still early in the day. I mean, I don't want to necessarily give this one up and get out of everything now because I'm a little bit nervous on where we're going from here on NVIDIA, which I am nervous. I mean, I feel like it should be going up a little bit more than we are right now for sure on that break. It hasn't done anything since breaking this 120. It did fall in immediately, and that kind of always happens when you get a false break, and traders will figure out if there are dip buyers or not, and it looks like there was here on NVIDIA, but there's not enough buy pressure to push this through. Like, it's not going that meme craze kind of thing that I've sort of anointed here with NVIDIA. You can really see when that happens, they just start taking out the ask. And right now, that's not what's happening. It can go meme the other way. There it goes. It can go meme the other way as well, where it just starts to tumble down on you again. But all right, let's go. I'm waiting now for a little bit higher into the 50s as NVIDIA is starting to break higher and higher. And hopefully that higher and higher means into those 50s, into a couple pennies higher than this. Here we go. It's a nice little rock and roll opportunity now for NVIDIA, trying to get back upside right now. It will be your your biggest trade of the day because Walmart, we had lost out on that one earlier on. Google looks like it wants to go again right up there to the upside. So although we're long NVIDIA and short Google, that's not going to work out here. It doesn't look like early on. Google catching that bid that we thought was going to happen, but it's happening against us right now as we hit that short. Google's starting to go back up to the upside. Look at NVIDIA fly.
Market is absolutely flying at this point. So we're going to get to 2 points here pretty quickly. 19.5 on the NASDAQ, whatever the heck it is on the ES. I have the NASDAQ chart up, so I don't know. Baba just retagged the highs. So that's 81.80. It dipped right back into that previous 81.50 zone. We reloaded it. I understand that I got to zoom this chart in because Baba made a big move. The Tesla chart kind of looks the same way. You got to zoom in because the moves were so big early. You just had to join it late. So we had 81s before. Now we grabbed some at the 80 half and working our way into 82. Is that Apple is very close to the 225 zone. And as Sean already mentioned, NVIDIA pressing for 121 even. So the longs ain't wrong just yet. And before we go to happening now, I just want to acknowledge to everybody, Tesla's up 5%, not ignoring it on purpose. The trading plan happened to be in some other names today. So there's nothing, we're not ignoring Tesla. Tesla up 5%, strong trend to the upside. It's pulling back off 212 currently. VWAP sits at 210. That will look like as good as any, but a very good, strong upward trend in just about everything. Let's go to Adara for happening now.
Whoa, man, Google is...
Getting some numbers coming through here at 10 a.m. Business inventories month over month coming in line with the consensus estimate here, 0.3%, slightly above the forecast of 0.1%. We also got here business inventories on a month over month basis. That was with business inventories, 0.3%. We had the NAHB housing market index here coming slightly below estimates, 39 versus the forecast here of 43. Just waiting as well here on these retail inventories ex auto for the month of June. But again, just to clarify, in line, business inventories month over month, slightly lower than expected for the NAHB housing index. We have the S&P 500 here up on the day, up more than 1%. NASDAQ slightly stronger, up almost 2%. Lots of earnings being digested here from a lot of different retail spaces. We have Walmart, John Deere, some of these Chinese ADRs. Also on watch here is Cisco, up almost 10%, finding some nice support here as it continues higher. Slightly weaker than expected fiscal 2025 EPS expectations, but they did beat across the board for fiscal Q4 2024. We also have here Snowflake actually recovering really nicely, down about 3% at one point in the pre-market. Berkshire Hathaway exited its position entirely and also received a downgrade from Wells Fargo, but Snowflake actually up just slightly on the day, guys.
I turned it on, like, yeah, it probably bounced off that 121 clean. Nope, it never even got close to $121. So again, thinking it was going to do that on the Buffett leaves, bounce off support. It doesn't even try to bounce off support levels. Sometimes the best support levels are the ones that it can't even get to. So Snowflake looking fantastic. You'll note that I'm trailed out of Apple here. So Apple just got up to that 224 half. The number came out. I slapped a trail when the economic numbers dropped, and then got out of this one for the buck. But we did take the hit early on the dip buy. VWAP looks like a bit of a thing here for Apple if we can hold on in any kind of secondary dip. 225 looks like a potential breakout level for Apple. Alibaba and NVIDIA still going, so we still have those ones long as NVIDIA seems like it wants that 121 level, so that one's looking still fantastic to the upside. And Amazon still holding 176. Super strong one, Amazon. If we're going to preach patience, I'm not chasing Amazon up here. So going to look for it to consolidate. We're at 19.5 on the NASDAQ. This could be a spot where if we pull back in, there's a chance to get into some things that we might have missed here. Snowflake's probably a no because it's at 128 and I liked 121. But certainly Amazon into VWAP 175 would fit the bill.
All right, yeah, big trade alert obviously on NVIDIA here as we're long and strong. This name up near 121. So we are still starting to go upside right now on NVIDIA. So let's spin it right now. It is a good one. No problem, Fabian, as we go. So NVIDIA 50 cents in. Look, man, we have definitely messed up our opinions here on Google because now Google's trying to fade back in just a little bit. I like the short. We We talked about what names we're trying to pick on if there was going to be some kind of a short in. We take on Google today, market up 1.8%. But look what Google's doing. It's flat on the day. So we just took a big short rate up here, man, 161. Let's see if that one wants to work. Google, Amazon, Nvidia there. Walmart, actually. You're still on the SPY chart there, Fabian, but that is okay, as we'll continue to watch out for the spiders and continue to go. Maybe.
Well, I mean, we're at those highs, so like, it's worth mentioning. We are kind of pulling back a little bit as you see that chart up there. 19.5. Yeah, just go to Sean's screen, but 19.5 is holding on the NASDAQ, so you're seeing a bit of a crest here at the top.
My screen. Okay, here we go. Thanks. Fabian's by himself today, trying to help out. Our guest that is now in the building, we have JC Peretz here, so we are very, very excited to have him on board with us here live in person.
Here we go.
Now today. All right, here we go. Google's trying to make that move back down into the downside, so let's spin a little bit of this. Right now, let's put some money on the board now with Google coming back in. Finally, Google making that move in. But it's sort of at the sacrifice now of NVIDIA. So as NVIDIA pulls back in, as does Google. So yeah, so far so good. It's glad we took some out there on NVIDIA on that upside. Let's take a little bit more out here, as now the market, Neil,
Here's a
is
turn.
starting to finally fall in.
All right,
so
where's
yes,
Intel?
sir, Google now, a big trade alert to the downside.
Yeah, the first thing I thought, when we confirmed we're pulling back, I'm like, where is Intel? Oh, not at the spot. It never got to yesterday's high, so that would have been perfect, but it could take out that 20 quarter level, and then that would come back into play. That was weird. Yeah, so looking at it here, it's still holding barely above that 20 and a quarter. If we can fade it, great off the highs, but if we break this, I want to look for some shorts. NVIDIA, we had reloaded that one at the 220, started at 119.5. That's where the stop's underneath. It's underneath that break, the initial breakout level for me, not the 120. So still can catch a bit of a bid if it wants to. Apple, we're fortunate enough to get out because it turned on the economic number, the 10 o'clock numbers, but that's still holding pretty well to the upside on Apple. Alibaba might not care as much about what's going on with the NASDAQ in the New York. It's still at the highs of the day. Hasn't broken 82 yet, but the churn is still to the upside on Alibaba. Chinese ADRs don't always have to follow the U.S. markets to a T, holding the trend to the upside with the market. But I like the fact that it's not dipping with some of these other names. And if you're still watching Tesla, no pullback into VWAP or 210. Super strong Tesla. It can't even get to VWAP at this point yet.
All right, here we go here.
Here we go.
I hear our guest talking about risk on. I think he's 100% right today, as we are up now 1.6%. And it's starting to go, man. I mean, everything. We even have crypto at 59.5. Bitcoin trying to go upside right now. Look at Walmart. We're trying to battle back with Walmart. So let's see, instead of flushing down, let's see if this market can get back there to the upside right now, as Walmart starting to go one more time. All right, we did average back into NVIDIA. Oh man, let's see what's happening with NVIDIA now. We just took another bid at 120. Let's put an offer, see if we could just take a small 20 cents on like 10% of it, and then hold it back up for that upside in and around 120.50. Those are our best outs. It did get a little bit higher than those levels, that's for sure. But as we lose some money on NVIDIA, we making money now, baby, on Google. Look at this drop down. We actually loaded it up there. You know, we talk about this all the time. If you're going to trade, you might as well trade. You might as well go risk on if there's an opportunity that you like. So we did that to the short side right now with Google. That was a monster there. We have, hey, look, our first take was at VWAP. Our second take was right into this area, giving it to 161. It's nice to see this breaking down just a little bit there, as we'll take advantage in the low 160s. We also take advantage of a dip buy opportunity on NVIDIA here as well. And then Walmart, Neil's the only other one that we're holding. So we have 3 stocks today. We'll go 2 for 3, but NVIDIA, big time potential coming through. And then Walmart, we did lose on a piece of Walmart there, but it has made its way back to the upside. This early dip buy opportunity was the best there for Walmart. Since now, it hasn't really been reacting that well.
I haven't got myself into Walmart at any point. Walmart and the retail, man. I didn't get into Walmart. I didn't get into Amazon. I think that's a big miss, not getting into Amazon. So another dip just came in. I got trailed out of Alibaba, and immediately I'm like, man, I want to get back into this stock. So I got the trail out, into 81.4. It still hasn't broken 82, but you're still holding right at that previous high, the $81.50 level. So it's still holding that one. We'll see if we can get back into it. We still have NVIDIA off the 120 as the market's trying to pull back. I did say I'm looking for this setup reversal here in Intel. It's at VWAP, not really holding under VWAP or testing the high. It's either hold under VWAP and give me that short, or break into that top and give me the short in front of 2060. Whichever one wants to happen next here on Intel, I'm perfectly fine with. Just got to be patient, just got to wait for it. Nothing doing just yet. Tesla, no 210. NVIDIA still not wanting to go all the way back into VWAP here. We started it at 119.6 on the break, added at the 120. So you'll see, like, instead of giving an average price, it's just the last shares in or the 120. So that's what we have currently, 120.02. But I'm looking for VWAP here on NVIDIA. If we get down in there and bounce, I'm going to like that one for a reload back into the upside on NVDA. And I said I forgot to look at ARM for the chip names. You know, it's not like it's ARM, NVIDIA, does it really matter? You could have had either one of these breaks, I suppose, 130 to 132. NVIDIA broke out as well. ARM holding on to VWAP. But we're in NVIDIA, so I don't think I'll be double dipping. Very, very similar setups if you happen to be looking at it. Let's get on up to the desk because we have our guest today locked and loaded and ready to go. Very excited here with Brendan and Mr. Perez.
Flew all the way from New York, guys, just to see us. I kid. Up for an event. But JC Perez, good to see you. It's great to have you in-house. Welcome to Toronto, first
This is
of all.
amazing, by the way. This studio is fantastic.
Cool,
Kudos to
right?
you guys. This is sick.
Yeah, it's kind of cozy in here for an early morning. JC Perez, if anyone's not familiar, is the founder and chief strategist of All Star Charts, technical research platform for the financial industry. So we're talking technicals today. And man, oh man, did what happened last week not give us a lot to talk about from a technical standpoint. You and I were just kind of discussing, you know, where this stands, and I'm referring to what happened with the yen and the dollar last week. Give us your take here on the fallout, if that's maybe too strong of a word, for equities.
Yeah, you know, I think it's important for equities traders to just be aware of what's happening around the world. Like, there are certain things that impact stocks, like the Forex markets and the bond market are way bigger than the stock market. So, you know, those are really what are dictating things. And it's not so much like, oh, higher yen is bad for stocks, are good for stocks, or higher bond prices are good or bad for stocks. It's more the rate of change.
Yeah.
And when you get such a dramatic move in something like the Japanese yen and the bond market, treasury bond market in the United States, simultaneously, it's like the stock market has a heart attack.
Yeah.
You know, there's a $130 trillion bond market, $4 quadrillion Forex markets. The stock market in the United States is $50 trillion. I mean, it's a drop in the bucket compared to those others. So it's going to get bullied around. It's going to get knocked around.
Yeah. We came in here on Monday morning last week and saw VIX at 60.
Yeah.
Which was the first time since COVID, essentially, that February, March time of COVID. From a volatility standpoint, such an historic move didn't seem to translate into individual stocks as much as the overall market. We had the huge move initially in the market, but individual stocks under the hood didn't seem as affected.
Absolutely. You know, you didn't really see you didn't see at all an expansion in stocks making new lows, right? You would think with a VIX of 65, like stocks would be blowing out, breaking support, the new lows list would be expanding. Nothing.
Yeah.
1 month lows, 3 month lows, 6 month lows, the 52-week low list was non-existent, you know, right? Like there was nothing. And then also the VIX 65 is like a Fugazi move, you know, like it was like in the 30s is really what it was. When you look at VIX futures, which actually gets traded, it was in the 30s, not at 65.
Right.
Mathematically, and the VIX mathematics is very complicated, right? So you've got all these like out of the money options with wide bid-ask spreads that, you know, aren't even being traded that impact the price of the VIX, right? But those aren't traded. The futures market was in the 30s. And when you look at what the stock market was doing, it felt like a VIX in the 30s, right? Down 2-3%. Oil was flat. Copper was down a little bit. You know, it wasn't a VIX 65 like, you know, how, you know, where I grew up, right? You know, back in the day where you would get, you know, massive moves higher in the stock market, massive moves lower, overnight, just thousands of moves in the Dow, thousands of points in the Dow back and forth. That's VIX 65. That wasn't what we were getting.
Wasn't the case.
It was just very calm, normal. and VIX in the 30s, now that makes more sense. And I think that's what it was.
And we saw that, and you and I were just saying, you know, by the afternoon, even on Monday, it seemed like, you know, everyone kind of shrugged their shoulders and said, okay, as you were, and everything got bought back up into Tuesday and Wednesday even. It was, you know, the storm had passed almost. Is there an area specifically in the market itself, maybe not being touched on? Everyone's so focused on tech, everyone's so focused on AI specifically in the big Mag 7. Is there an area in the market that we should be looking at as relatively strong?
Yeah, I mean, I would look at like the industrial stocks, like these like machinery companies from the Midwest, engineering and construction. You know, look at the trucking companies and the railroads, and just like the logistics companies within the transportation index. Like these are stocks that like, you know, people think are like boring because it's not like the AI and the chips and the, you know, they're going to change the world. Like they don't have to change the world. They could just print money with their tow trucking company in Illinois. Like who gives, right? Like they don't have to revolutionize the world. They could just like raise their dividend every year and just crush it and print money and then line go up. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
These are really important companies in the United States. You got the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and you got the Dow Jones Transportation Average, which has not been making new highs. Dow Industrials made new all-time highs to close the month of July, right? So coming into August, you've got new all-time highs for several months now in the Dow Industrials. You're not seeing the Dow Transports. I think you're not seeing it yet, right? Is it like, oh, big divergence, or is it that we just haven't gotten that confirmation from transports yet? And I think it's that.
Yeah.
Because when you look outside of industrials, the S&P industrials and those construction, engineering, the Honeywells and the Caterpillars and the General Electric.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to still call it General Electric?
Of course.
I think I'm always going to call it, like, are you ever going to call it GE Aerospace? Like what?
Or healthcare, GHC.
It's
now?
General Electric. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know that I'm ever going to get over that.
I mean, so much attention, so much focus gets put onto these 7 stocks in the overall market. I guess from a technical standpoint, what do we need to know from the Mag 7?
Well, just understand that it's not evenly distributed in like the mass media of what is important to bring to their consumers and what is going to get their consumers to watch, right? So as investors, it's important to understand that what the media is giving you is not the whole, you know, complete information. It's one portion that they know you think is really sexy, and they're going to keep giving it to you, so you keep coming back. Right. That doesn't. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just the goal there. For investors, we have to understand that that is just one small aspect of it. Granted, huge companies, right? So small might be a little disingenuous. But nevertheless, like it's one segment, it's one part, it's one country, it's one group of tech stocks. Look at other countries that don't have tech exposure. For example, look at Europe, look at the United Kingdom, look at Canada, right? Like these are just, you know, completely different economies and different. There's no Mag 7 in Canada.
There's a Mag 1. Shopify.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe.
It's a great mag.
Yeah.
But then you have Imperial Oil that is breaking out of a huge base and make new all-time highs. Hello.
Yeah.
You know, the United States has ExxonMobil. They just closed at the month of July at a new all-time high. So you got energy stocks participating as well. And a lot of countries around the world that don't have technology, they have energy. Also, those industrials. In the United States, it's like 7% of the S&P 500 is industrials, something like that. Like 0% of the NASDAQ's industrials. In Europe, it's a huge component. France is like 27% industrials, and Denmark is like 23% industrials. You know, Canada has a lot more industrial exposure than the United States, particularly relative when you consider the lack of technology exposure in Canada. And other countries, the United Kingdom is 0% technology. Zero. Like they don't even have the Shopify.
I want to get your take on a few other areas of the market. I know Neil and Sean want to jump in on this conversation as well. So we'll get a couple of conversations here, or a couple of questions here from the guys.
Hey, JC, how's it going? I saw your tweet there about Tim Hortons. Did you get a chance to go in there? My personal opinion, JC, is you're probably disappointed. I think an aficionado like you, it's very, very basic coffee. Did you get a chance to sip on our national brand?
I have to say, you know, as bougie as I am with my wine and maybe, you know, the food and the sushi, with coffee, like, I don't really care that much. For me, it was more the novelty, like, oh, here I am at Tim Hortons Day, right. You know, I get the right?
Oh, do we do that a lot, by the way? Do we say, now that you're up here, do you see that we have a little bit of an accent? We'd say a boot, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah.
I have a lot of Canadian friends, you know, and, you know, from Toronto, you know, and London and all that stuff.
Here we go.
Yeah, so I love it. I love Canada. Canada's great. What a great place.
I just don't
appreciate that.
Look, we definitely appreciate it. We always talk about the curse of our tech companies out here. You mentioned we're not exposed to tech. Here we had Nortel, which was one of the big ones, and when it was number one, it died. We had RIM, BlackBerry, whatever we call it. When it was number one, it died.
Yeah, blow that one.
Well, we screwed the crap out of that one as well.
You had it in your palm of your hand. Totally blew it.
Oh, I like that. I like that. It wasn't the palm of your hand.
The Ryan Leaf of Canadian technology right there.
Hey, Ryan,
Whoa.
here's I have a thing about this.
okay.
I have a thing about this, JC.
We want to talk about fantasy sports?
Nobody drafts themselves number one. Ryan Leaf did not draft himself at the top of the draft at number two. Doesn't really matter.
It was San Diego, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. If a bust is a bust because someone else made a bad call.
Jamarcus Russell, is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Jamarcus Russell.
What a disaster.
We're not that bad, but I love your point about the industrials, man. I love Caterpillar. I was just saying to Sean, as you were mentioning that, I can't believe we forgot to look at the bounce on John Deere this morning. Good reaction to their earnings plays. Can you talk maybe a little specifically about those two? Which do you like one better than the other?
Yeah, I like the one the Caterpillar's doing a hell of a lot better than Deere. So I don't argue with the market. Like, the market chose Caterpillar. I didn't choose Caterpillar. I don't care whether it's Caterpillar or Deere, it doesn't matter to me, but it happens to be Caterpillar. I would take a look at Honeywell. General Electric has obviously been a big one. And then look at the transportation stocks, like within the industrial complex, like these truckers and railroads and the logistics companies. I mean, there's a lot there. There's a lot of opportunities. And whether you trade these stocks or not, understanding, how they historically move with the S&P 500. Let's remember that of all the S&P sectors, the one that has the highest positive correlation with the S&P 500 isn't tech or financials, it's industrials. So if industrials are a leader, and by the way, within small caps, industrials have been a leader this entire time until recently, when the Russell 2000 got going. But before that, it was like, oh, small caps aren't working, small caps aren't working. Yeah, maybe your small caps aren't working, but the small cap industrial index just keeps making new highs every day. So I don't know what you're looking at. And so within small caps, there are areas working and not working. The Russell 2000 is like 200 banks and like 250 biotechs. Like, it's insane. Yeah. So if you're wondering whether the Russell 2000 is going to go up or not, maybe you should look at what the banks and the biotechs are doing. Because if they're not doing well, that Russell 2000 ain't going higher. But what does that have to do with small cap industrials, right? So I think it's important to break down, these indexes and understand that the weightings mean something. And there's a lot more going on than what you might just see at the index level.
What hasn't gone yet? Maybe that's a better question. What should we be looking at that you think maybe still has a chance that hasn't gone yet?
Well, financials, for example, have been a big leader. The money center banks, the capital market stocks like CBOE and, the NASDAQ itself and ICE and all those have been working. Yeah. Capital markets, Raymond James, Jefferies, Goldman Sachs, these companies have been working. Berkshire Hathaway, speaking of financials and industrials. So those areas have been working. But when you go down the cap scale to small cap financials like regional banks, you haven't quite seen that, obviously, right? So that's kind of like the one piece of financials that hasn't been working that I think would be really interesting. If you think that in the back half of the year, small caps are going to lead, the Russell 2000 is going to be a leader, you need those banks working, right? So I think that's a big one. Other areas, I would keep an eye on real estate. Real estate's been getting going, making new 52-week highs over the last few weeks. Even despite some volatility in the equities market, real estate continued higher. Yeah. I was promised that real estate was going to collapse the market, and oh my God, and real estate and the Canada real estate bubble, and Toronto, all that stuff, and New York and all that stuff. I don't know about all that. I see real estate making new 52-week highs, and if any of that was true, would these real estate stocks be making new 52-week highs? Like, I don't think so. Right?
One of the best aspects of the way that you approach the market is that you strip away all of that excess noise and just look at what the actual chart is telling you. Anybody wants to follow you? Anybody wants more information? Where should they go? Yeah, just go to allstarcharts.com. We've got a great show in the mornings at 8:30 on stockmarkettv.com. Check us out. Myself, Spencer Israel, Steve Straza. We have a good time. So Allstar Charts on Twitter. I'm easy to find. Yeah, go check them out on Twitter, guys. It's great to have you here. Thank you. JC Perret's up for an event here in Toronto. Appreciate you stopping by. Happy to. This is some operation. This is great.
I still want to talk more to JC there. I want to
You
ask
haven't
about.
left
What do you got? What do you got?
You haven't left yet.
I know. But what I want to go with
back and
actually. All right, you mind, JC, asking one more question? All right, from one small cap stock to another, let's talk Amazon. So Amazon, I know you and Josh talk about this. I know it's a name that he likes a little bit here. With Prime memberships expansion right now, cloud commerce getting bigger and bigger, AWS really big. For me, I think this is, and we'll talk about Mag 7, we can throw that name around. I really like Amazon in this spot. We did have a problem up here. If you come over to the daily chart at 200 right here, JC, and we know that Bezos was selling a little bit of that. Look at this dip down into the 200 period. Oops, there goes the chart. Generally speaking, on a daily chart, I like 200 period for support. Right there, 200 simple. What are your thoughts on Amazon right now? I think it can climb back up to that $200 level. It's a name that a lot of our viewers are looking at.
Yeah, zoom out and, look at Amazon relative to those former highs from late 21, early 22. That's the key. A lot of the leaders are already above those prior cycle highs. Amazon is not. That's why it's not a leader. So that's what I would be looking at. That's what I would be focused on, kind of like that big base. If we're not above that, then there's trouble still up there, right? There's still dead bodies hanging up there. There's an overwhelming amount of supply relative to demand at those levels, right? There are more sellers than buyers. People are like, well, JC, for every buyer, there's a seller. Yeah, thanks. But there aren't an equivalent amount of buyers and sellers at every price, you see.
Right.
And at those prices, there are more sellers than buyers. So until the demand is able to absorb all that overhead supply, prices cannot move on. And if the market has proven anything to us, is that demand has yet to absorb all of that overhead supply, right? We can literally see it. That's what that is. So, go to Google, go to Meta, go to Microsoft, go to NVIDIA. They all exceeded those prior cycles highs and took off. Amazon hasn't done that. So,
all right. So we'll follow the leader, right? When it breaks that, then we'll get going. I think a great example of that here, JC, if you come over here, Walmart, almost exactly what you're saying. Look at this. Talk about leadership, taking out highs. There has that reverse split, gets back into $60, and now taking off today on a great report. All right. I've heard you before. You've talked a lot about football, fantasy football, and whatnot. Give us a team that you like this year that may be flying under the radar a little bit. Neil's a Bills fan. I'm a Packers fan. Choose one of those if you want. Anything you're looking at right now, or maybe who is the Ryan Leaf of this year's draft as well?
Well, I am a Dolphin fan, diehard, grew up in Miami, and they look great. I mean, it is the most fun offense to watch. Like, even if I wasn't a Dolphin fan, I would be like, wow, this is a really fun offense to watch. Yeah. But the fact that it's the Dolphins, oh my God, I'm like a kid in a candy store. And Miami Hurricanes also look great. So I am very excited for football season. Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins. The Super Bowl is in New Orleans. I think that the Super Bowl should be in New Orleans every year. That is a fact. The weather's perfect. And the unique aspect of New Orleans is that where the game is, where the hotels are, and where you party are all in the same place.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's not like in Miami where it's far as hell, or in New York where you have to go to a different state. Everything's in one place. It's very convenient. It should be in New Orleans every year.
So Neil and I are friends for 35 years, and we actually had a bachelor party, one of our friends there in New Orleans. So I agree with that. And the one thing that you need when you go to New Orleans, you need to go to some of these, the dollar clubs. You need to get into the club right now, because right here we have NVIDIA, $1 in the money. NVIDIA's ripping up today, JC. Some of these semis continue to work as well. And you want to talk about the transports. I always thought the SMH was something that led, especially in the last few years. Right now, the SMH not leading at all. Nice downside move. You see any recovery happening here, either in SMH, SOXL, things like that? What's your opinion as we head into NVIDIA earnings on the 28th, two Wednesdays from yesterday?
Yeah, it's a couple of things there. It's a bull market. Stocks go up a lot in bull markets. You can go back and look at all the other bull markets. You'll see stocks go up all the time. It's like a thing. As far as semis outperforming, go back to the 2002, 03 to 07 bull market. Technology was an afterthought. Semis, were an afterthought. There were other leaders. Utilities were a leader in that cycle. So, I would be cautious overthinking that. But when you go to every bull market ever, technology is a leader in almost all of them. So, yes, semis leading, semis doing well is consistent with a bull market. They have been. They can't just always outperform and always go up. Right. They need to correct. They need to digest. Even this cycle, you've seen it. Granted, a lot of these stocks ripped, and they've ripped before, and they'll rip again, and they're going to go through consolidations. But yeah, NVIDIA going up, semis going up, technology bouncing off lows within a bull market, like all of those things make sense.
Perfect.
That's fantastic. Just one more here for you,
Shoot.
JC. I know some of the viewers are interested in this. So, this year, obviously the Bills and Miami are going to meet twice. My question isn't necessarily about football, but when the Bills run over Miami and I'm enjoying a steak dinner, is there a red that you could recommend that I celebrate with in particular? That would be my question. Just any recommendation. I know you're a big wine guy.
Yeah, when your boy throws 4 picks in the game, then you're gonna need that wine, my friend.
Dang.
You're gonna need it. With a steak, I mean, what are we drinking? Are you one of these filet mignon guys, or do you eat a real steak like a ribeye?
No, rib steak, baby.
I'm just asking.
Come on, bone in.
Bone in ribeye. All right, so I have a little more respect for you. Listen, you're gonna get more acid with that fat from that bone-in ribeye. So I've been on this like left bank Bordeaux kick with my ribeyes, where like if I venture away from that and I go like Italian or God forbid California or something, I regret it. I regret it every time. So I've like tried. It's like a personal thing to stop doing that. Just go left bank Bordeaux. You can go Medoc. You could go go with like a Medoc. You easily get
Appreciate
Saint Julien.
I do appreciate it. And for the record, in our fantasy league, I have both Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle at the wide receiver position on my team.
Well, you're not dumb, right?
Wow.
I mean, they're beast. They're beastly. What am I supposed to say? They're good. They're fast.
And that Buffalo defense can't stop them. They're going to be putting up 500 yards a game, so that's going to really help your team right there.
Okay, we'll see. When Dalton Kincaid is running ram shot down the seam, we'll see what happens.
Well, we'll have to have JC back on Monday or the following Monday, and we'll do that. Thank you, JC Perret from All Star Charts. Thank you for staying late with us, and we definitely appreciate that. Safe travels, my guy, on your way back. Thank you for coming in. There it is. There it is. So,
but Doc, I know a lot of people were asking about wine picks in there.
Yeah, of course.
I had to make sure we do that. Just a heads up, you're going to see me every now and then in and out of Kellanova.
Look at it.
Or Kellogg's, as I like to call it. There, gets getting bought 1 for 1. It's like $83.50. Apple's at $225. Nvidia just got to $121 and wicked the top. I trailed out of it when the 121 wicked out. I did jump out when it broke the initial support. I got out of the original long, jumped back in when it held the 120. It just got to 121 even. I'm now out of it. I still haven't shorted Intel. I feel like being patient when the market is this strong has been good. It hasn't broken the highs. It hasn't held underneath VWAP. It's 2.5%, but still looking at that. And then Amazon bouncing off VWAP was the only new position that got put on for me is Amazon at VWAP in that 175. Let's get over to this one just to give you an idea. It bounced off 175, got to 175 half. We'll look to reload this out in front of VWAP.
Okay, so we just had JC on there, obviously, but let's hit some sirens up right now. Google's an absolute monster for us today. We're short Google. Google's 70 cents in the money. That's a big one for us. NVIDIA, $1 in the money as well. Look, we short the weak names. I actually take something from JC on this. Why do I have to sit here and try to outthink the market? If Google's going to be weak, I'm going to short Google. If NVIDIA is going to be strong, I'm going to go long. We're going to find the right spots to get involved, and that's exactly what we've been doing. And meanwhile, we just made a lot of money back during that interview just by doing that. NVIDIA is now $1 plus in the money, and there we go, man. I mean, great guests, great trading. It's all on the board again right now. Hit those ones in the chat if you like our friend JC there. So thank you so much for coming through one more time. So look at NVIDIA near the highs of the day. And it doesn't get any better than this. Look at these dip buys. Once, twice, thrice, right there to the upside now as we go. So that's real trading. That's NVIDIA. Thank you so much for watching. We have 30 more minutes until we go to the midday show, where we'll have Sharif and we'll have Adira. Sharif, remind me what you guys are talking about today. It is earnings plays. We'll talk about earnings plays. We've had a couple big ones recently, including today's trade with Walmart. And while we were on Wally's World, that's another positive stock for us. Why? Because we bought these dips into 70. Look, we got stopped out. We talked about that. We rebought it on the 200 period take. Nice move up there, 45 cents there. Now we hold 20% of it and see if we can't cash out the rest just a little bit higher than that right now. 70 cents in the money on Google, $1.20 in the money on NVDA. This is what we're doing, guys. It's another day here and another couple bucks in this market.
Yeah, great morning as this market just continues to go higher. So stay green, baby. Just stay green. I don't think there's any risk that it's going to go red today. But we want this trend to continue. Buy the dips on strong stocks if we can grab them. As I said, Amazon was the new one for me. If we get any kind of a pullback on NVIDIA, I don't mind rejoining the trend. If it's VWAP, if it's 120, doesn't really matter. It curled at 120.5. That ended up being a right spot to get out and look for re-entry. I think 121 doing the same thing. I know we're ignoring a few names in here, but hey, at the end of the day, you got to stick to what you're looking at in your plan. Tesla 215 up 7% now. Tesla absolutely churning to the upside. There isn't a red candle on the 15-minute chart for Tesla today. And the first thing, look, you can't trade the trade in the past. At these heights, 220 seems like it's incoming before any reasonable dip buy in a previous high. So if we get VWAP, maybe look for some dips on trend. But if we get to the 220 level on Tesla, I didn't even mention that this morning. We're at 204. I thought there was almost no chance that we get there first. But that's what it looks like happening here over on Tesla. 7% to the upside. This is absolutely flying. So shout out to anyone that was on that one early for the break. I was looking dips into 204. As you can see, all it did is immediately hold 205 and off to the races here for TSLA.
All right. Just looking around to see, I mean, we've got these huge trades on, and I don't really think we need to get rid of them, to be honest with you. I mean, we can average back into NVIDIA if it does hit. Let's just check out what else is happening right now. We did not buy that Palantir dip, which was a huge mistake. I mean, we were sitting at 30.75. That's what we wrote down. It went as low as 30.90, and now creating this nice, did I just get filled on something? Oh yeah, there's Walmart again. Nice little move there at the 50 period. So yeah, man, it's going to be a good day for us here today. NVIDIA, Walmart, 2 for 3 there, with Google being the L on the day. Even though Google right now is in a 50-cent winner, you know, we got hit here trying to go long. Only when we started making money was when we flipped over into the short again. There for Google. So that's going to be sort of a back and forth little play there. What goes up must come down. We said that. You know, we talked about this market being rigged. JC sort of hinted a little bit at that as well. And the thing about it is, you know, this 82.60 with Nike, there it goes up on what was, you know, a buy. And then obviously Bill Ackman goes in there and sells to everybody at 82.50, capturing his percentage. And now it drops back into 81 again. So watch out there for Nike trying to find a base. The other name here, Starbucks. Let's have a quick look at Starbucks here. Again, falls into that 93 area. I'm waiting for 92. That was the area from yesterday that we liked long, and we nailed that one as we talked about. Did I just get filled on? What did I just get filled on there now? Oh, we got the NVIDIA, Sharif, high of the day. And so what is now $1.50 in the money goes NVIDIA. So again, you know, yesterday we talked about the trade that we got hit on as that made its way all the way back down. Kind of the same thing here today as we wait for give us something, right? It gave you everything you needed and more down here at 119.75. That's that reload area. And that's, I mean, it speaks for itself, right? Here's $1.50 straight to the upside. So if you're trading and you're trading like this, either you trade options, this is how you do it. I think you could definitely follow, if you're trading options, follow some of these ideas that I've been giving, because they're, you know, you can see that they're a little bit of a bigger time frame for winners on this one, and a little bit more juice to some of these names. Now $1.50 in the money as we go for that one. So look, man, we'll keep it very, very simple. We'll trade 3 names today. We'll go 2 for 3. Walmart, tricky, but positive. It did fall down. This was the best trade there. We lost on it once there, got it back. Now we're almost there. We had 20%, now we have 10. We talked about that. Again, NVIDIA, really the easy trade, and it's it's just a monster. So we don't have to talk too much more about that. We took a lot of shares breaking through 120, and then we even took more on the average down. So you got to believe in your trades, and when that happens, special things can happen.
Yeah, special things in this market, although we did just, for the umpteenth time, tag this resistance on the future and a little bit of a turn back. So for myself, Amazon just tagged 176, could come into VWAP. Just want to keep it as clean as possible. You're on trend, just go with the trend. If it bends, then I don't mind getting out of it. Want to stay green this morning. Chasing the late move up at the highs can be dangerous, and one thing I always consider is what is the stock that I'm in doing relative to the market. And Amazon, there's your trend since the open that it's trying to hold the higher lows and higher highs. Well, the market's testing the highs and it's testing the bottom of the trend line. That's a pretty big test. If you hold on to it and the market breaks out highs, great. If the market pulls back from 19.5 and we lose this trend, whether or not you'd reverse and go short, at least getting out to me has got to be an option on a stock like this. That's how I always like to work the trades, like a simple plan, but also not fighting things. Be willing to stop it out if it loses. Be willing to stop it out if it violates. Be willing to get back in if it makes sense to you. So Apple just wicked 225. Don't want to chase highs. I said I wasn't taking an Apple break. I thought it might have some trouble chewing through initially. So it sat there for a while. Now the buyers are starting to win out. Something JC's mentioned. Yeah, you got buyers and sellers at every single level, but they're not always at equilibrium. At times, you will get that where there's a bit of a war happening or a battle happening between buyers and sellers, and it hasn't resolved itself at 225. If the sellers win, VWAP 224, that's where I'd be looking for Apple on a pullback. If the buyers win, we have no issues getting 225 out and about above here on Apple. So just going to let this one play out at this level. Be patient. Try to take it station to station. The next trade, we'll see if we get another buck on this one. Doesn't have to happen right away. You can always look for that patient opportunity next. Appreciate it. And again, one of the things that we talked about in a lot last week as well, and I said this line was, if you can't explain the trade that you're going to make, then you're not making a trade. Like you're just throwing stuff out there hoping. But if you can't articulate, this is what I'm trading, this is where I'm getting in, this is where I'm wrong, this is where my out is going to be, like all those types of things, if none of that actually exists, then you have to ask yourself, like, how can you ever develop a plan if you don't have one going into the trade? So speaking of the plan, I can want to short Intel on a short setup, but last I checked, it's not really retesting the highs of resistance that I want. It's not failing underneath that level here at 20 and a quarter, and the market's screaming higher. So I can want to be shorted or want to be shorted under here, but neither one of those two things is happening yet. I say yet because if it does, then I'm going to pounce on this. As long as it's underneath this level, I want to look for the setup. But either the test of the top, which we missed as we were going long everything, or a test underneath here at 20.25. We're all over those ones if we can. So market certainly going to the high side as we speak. Going to hang on to Amazon for these highs of the day. If we get that reload, like I said, looking pretty good. There are C battles in the chat. Disney. I'll cop to not looking at Disney today. I'll also cop to not paying enough attention to Nike today as well. But Disney absolutely screaming back into this 88 level for Disney. This is doing a fantastic breakout. Watch out, 89, big resistance level when it had that reversal back on the 7th. So just watch out for that 89 level, but a big breakout here on Disney as well. So many good longs today. Hope we were able to catch them. Let's go to Adair for Sector Watch.
Lots of strength across the board here, as can be expected, given those moves up in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. Notably, tech here. Very few weak names in the electronic technology sector. Technology services, with the exception of Google, a little bit muted. Other than that, very, very strong across the board here as well. Finance with some strength. Producer manufacturing, consumer services, commercial services. Consumer durables, of course, led by Tesla, but not the only strong name in this sector. Retail trade, Walmart bringing up this group here. Amazon, Costco, Target, all very strong. In terms of the more muted or weaker sectors, consumer non-durables, with the noted exception of Nike on news of that Bill Ackman Pershing Square position, is generally a little bit weaker. Utilities red here as well, as is communications. But generally, we have a lot of strength across the board here, guys.
So much strength out there. And, as mentioned, you could have gone all over the place. Walmart, however, it did get to 75. it's still up 6.5%. Like there's nothing bad about it. Finally making a higher low per se. It's tempting to make a higher low, I should say. So it made its bottom, held here. You're still kind of trending down, but it's making a higher low off this 73 level. So this looks like it's trying to join the party with the market at somewhat of a resistance level. It is worth mentioning. And another name which we haven't talked about at all was Meta. Meta's got a steep, steep breakout. The trouble with Meta, that daily chart, the trouble with Meta, like a lot of other names, is, let me just pull up a weekly chart so you guys can see this. My dailies have had or taken a bit of a vacation there. Yeah, this triple top on the weekly or daily, doesn't matter the time frame you want to look at. You're running into some heavy previous resistance on Meta when you get to $540. I'm asking myself, do I want to ring some of the register from last Monday when everything was dipping? Because you're getting into that zone at 540. I might slap an offer in my personal account after 11 o'clock here on Meta. Very, very close to that 5.4.
Volta's like, my man, we got to be long NVIDIA. Look at NVIDIA go right now. I mean, now we're $2, Neil, 1 and 2 now in the money on NVIDIA. Not only that, we are also $1 in the money on Google right now. So again, simple trading. There's really nothing. It's short the weak names. We tried Google long early. I mean, we talked. This, again, is why we'll be red on Google despite still holding this short. Same story as Palantir yesterday. So at one point, we'll learn. But there it goes, man, 161.30. We thought that we were going to break that high. I was like, Google's the one name that needs to get going again. And I thought that was worth the shot, honestly. I mean, we had a little bit of a break there, back down, falling back in. So when you're looking at this, it does look like, hey, that probably was a short. I mean, it's easy to see now. But it's not about that. It's about having the ability to flip your position, because we were long, and instead of being stubborn about it, sure, we don't have great ins. Like that first short right there is bad. But again, probably a starter position. We talked about starting with 10 to 15%, then up to VWAP, probably another 30 or 40%. And then we talked about 161. So when that came through there, that was a good short back in right there. Google, your big trade there on the short. And then we can always say this, but NVIDIA is going to be huge. It's the number one P&L stock for me, and probably I think it's probably for you as well, as NVIDIA just keeps on trekking to the high.
Unless you had Tesla, that's the one.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about P&L right now.
I'm just in general sense for almost every trader, I think, on the floor here, I would guess.
No.
The top two, usually the top two volume names as a day trader or on a regular day are NVIDIA and Tesla. And both of them are screaming to the upside today. But I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't know. I haven't looked. That's all. Very, very quickly. There's a lot of questions about Rivian. I just want to quickly address this one. It's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to stay wrong. And this is one of those things. Like, I like the breakdown on Rivian. So the plan was, and I said it, if we shorted into VWAP, previous high, previous support is my out. So there's the stop clean exactly where I want it to be. And then we short it off of this high here, takes them out at 25, it breaks the top, get out. Because now you go all the way into $14, and that could be like a day ruiner. Now, obviously, crystal ball short at 14, but again, plan of action was shorted on the weakness. And a lot of things can happen at that open, but as long as you have a plan of attack, know where you're going to get out of the stock, I think it's always going to be important to do that. So you're screaming to the upside on Rivian. There was that sell imbalance early in the day. If it breaks 14, it's got a decent enough short float that maybe this is another one of those temporary bottoms on RIVN. We'll see what happens if it can hold that 14.
Okay, so I'll just give you guys an update because I do have the numbers right here. It's all NVIDIA today. We don't even, as far as Tesla, it looks like Neil's going to be right. Everybody completely missed that. We don't have one, I don't think we have one fill on Tesla.
It wasn't in play. There was no news or anything.
That's what I'm saying. We don't have one fill on Tesla, I don't think, on the floor today. So, but it's been a pretty good day for the floor. Yeah, the floor will be red, but, we'll see. Hopefully it can come up. Me being red is going to be, as I go, really, the floor most of the time. We'll wait to see here what happens with that NVIDIA, though, as that's still going back up to the upside. We already took a piece out right there on that high side. We're still waiting for Google to make that move back down. So hopefully that will happen here for Google as we make a move back in right now on that stock. So that little break there, we're red, but not red huge. So it's been a pretty flat day overall. I think we could speak for most on that one. Let's check out CMG. I just saw that in the chat because you know what? That is a good point. Let's have a look at CMG. I mean, we talked about Starbucks and Nike sort of to death the last couple of days. CMG, a nice rebound for sure. We do have that split. Our charts don't show it right there. Wondering if that $50 is just a magical spot right there, right? 50 definitely means something to a lot of traders as you get to even dollar levels, especially off of a split and things like that. Nice move back up there to the upside. Remember, it wasn't completely the end of the world for Chipotle. I mean, what they had was I think it was their CFO or something like that stepped in there to take over the reins immediately. And I feel like they might have known that something was up there with Brian Nichols.
Yeah, better for Starbucks than bad for CMG.
Yeah, definitely. Still really bad for CMG. But yeah, Starbucks, as soon as we tweeted that out that day, Starbucks was at 86 or 87 when I saw the note. And boom, I was like, there we go. This is exactly what we're talking about. We're probably going to get some out. I want to let this settle down for a couple days to see. And there it is, Neil. If you are a trader, you've been on, and we talked about this today, you've been on NVIDIA. It is the #1 stock on this floor. It has been huge. It's been huge the last month and a half. And we even said this, man, kind of like, sometimes you need a crystal ball or an 8-ball, sometimes you don't. When you know your style of trading and you know what you can do, we had talked about NVIDIA. I said, as soon as NVIDIA splits, it will be my #1 stock. And that's pretty much what it's been. We've sort of merged over into the TQs, into the NASDAQ a bit lately, and that's been fantastic. But NVIDIA, there it is, another $2 winner for you right there on board, as I just saw you there with Apple.
No, you know what? I was taking once the buyers were above 225, I said I was going to go long once the buyers won 225, and then the moment it dipped into 225, the NASDAQ lost 19.5. Like, the NASDAQ was breaking the highs, and then the moment it dipped back into 225, I'm like, oh, we're losing 19.5. That's not a condition. I said I do not want to be buying up at the tops if the NASDAQ was losing the highs. So I'm going to be a little bit more patient. It's 1050. So I think you go from trades that you're in and out of them sometimes a little bit faster, or taking really, really quick setups. It's like, oh, I'll get into this like 3 times in like 3 minutes. And you go into a moment where you want to be a little bit more patient with the trade for it to set up. So that's the reason for it. The NASDAQ was essentially doing this fail at above 19.5. I caught the bid. I was able to get like 4 or 5 cents out of it because I got out right away on the initial bounce. But yeah, I just didn't like that. That was kind of against the plan, and it turns out to be working in the moment, but that was the read that I had just now with Apple. So we'll see where it settles down. If it gets all the way to VWAP, I think that's more of a no-brainer than anything else. It's 1050, which means we're supposed to go to the desk. We've got money talk.
DXY here, coming into some interesting levels on the daily chart. We wick into this previous resistance level here around 103.20s. Still coming back lower, up on the day, but definitely not at the highs of day. Closing, or I guess opening here around that 102.60 area that we've seen some candles closing recently. So this could be an interesting level for the DXY going forward. We did get some economic data today. Retail sales on a month-over-month basis for July, much higher than expected, up 1% versus estimates of a positive 0.4% print. Meanwhile, we have initial jobless claims lower than estimates here, 227,000 versus estimates of 236,000. Core retail sales on a month-over-month basis were also higher than the estimated print here, 0.4% versus estimates of 0.1%, but below the prior print of 0.5%. We also did have some comments from Fed's Muslim coming through this morning. Amongst other things, Fed Muslim actually mentioning market volatility that we had last week, saying that this kind of volatility happens all the time, but it only really matters to policymakers if it actually impacts financial conditions. So really interesting note there coming from Fed's Muslim. More Fed comments on the horizon later today at 1:10, we'll get comments from Fed's Harker. Tomorrow, also some economic data to watch out for. We'll get some building permits and housing starts at 8:30 and the Michigan consumer sentiment at 10 a.m.
All right, thank you, Adara. From money talks to, what really matters. And it's what's for lunch. And the funny thing about what's for lunch today Oh my God. And a shout out to my wife, who last night I was at a playoff meeting for baseball, so it was really great. She hooked up dinner, as she does every night pretty much. And we were looking through some recipes, and she's like, oh, what do you think about like this Korean chicken sort of recipe there? And she baked it all up, and one of the key ingredients was broccolini. And today's lunch, again, sponsored by not only chicken, but we have orange hoisin chicken with steamed rice. Did we have steamed rice? Yeah, we had rice last night, actually, as well. And roasted peppers and broccolini. So there you go. Basically what I had for dinner last night is for lunch today. So that should be a good one. As many of the traders behind us get ready to rock and roll. We actually today had a nice little cup of fruit salad to start the day. And man, that was tasty as well. Yeah, I don't know if it gave us these trades or not, but it definitely gave us enough energy to do the show, make the trades. NVIDIA going to be the big winner, as we said here today, for the floor, for myself. And for Neil. These are our three, the number one name again here today. And I feel like it's going to be kind of like broken record until we find out other names. And again, it doesn't matter. I can literally, yesterday, Neil, we took $1.80 or $1.60 or whatever it was on Shopify. Why? Because $74 right now for Shopify. Let's go. A big trade. Yesterday, we had bought this name at $70 right there and had it to the upside. So it doesn't, I'll put on bangers for you and for myself every day. It's a matter of having them set up. Sometimes they go against you. Sometimes you'll lose on your trades. But at the end of the day, just see the trades that we're putting on. Take the shares that you want on these trades and trade them accordingly. It's Walmart right now, a positive stock. It's NVIDIA. That's a big one. And then Google right now, as it tries to get lower, we are 80 cents in the money on Google on that short. I'm just going to wait to see if it falls down. The NASDAQ's up 2%. We are light. We only have 10% left of NVIDIA, but there's no stopping this name. Now, 122, Neil, everybody was talking about dip buying some of these names. Like NVIDIA there, and I wasn't even here, missed the best week in the last couple of years of trading last week. But NVIDIA down there, you could have had this name in and around $100, $103, $104 before Armageddon. And that's where I was starting to dip buy some of this. I bought some at 109, bought some again at 103.50, 104.50.
Those 90s didn't last long.
And boom, yeah, that's what I mean. Unless you were really sitting there. There it goes. Huge move up for NVIDIA. The strong just stay stronger every single day. And I think that's the one important thing that hopefully you can learn from my trading is stay with the momentum names, be consistent, and then just, put up these numbers and trust in what you're doing every single day. And it's definitely been working out. And today is no different.
Yeah, today definitely no different. I can tell you on underneath $100 on that Monday, unless you had a market on open order or you were just sitting on the bid, that initial move, it was like straight. It gobbled everything up until you get to $100 is essentially what happened on NVIDIA. It's really difficult, and I can attest to this on Apple. Apple was exactly the same thing. Well, maybe not exactly the same. NVIDIA probably a little bit more violent, but Apple gobbled it up and all the way into 208. I actually tried to get a 200 breakout on Apple. It was the only stock. I'm like, okay, we're down here. Let's try to get one breakout trade this morning. If it breaks 200, Apple felt like the safest place to be. I thought it could be chaos that morning. I'm like, okay, what's one name if you take a breakout? It should at least be reasonable with liquidity. My answer, it just came back down into Apple. Could not get that break. It did not stop for $7. It was just clean to the upside. What happened after is what happened after. Just very quick, we only have 3 minutes to go here. So, wow. A, fantastic morning. B, what's next? If we pull back into VWAP, look for some strong stocks. Apple's getting close at 224. Amazon kind of stalled out that trend line that I drew and for some reason still isn't there, but that's kind of there. It's kind of like this, loosely. So I had a trail in on that trend. It's not pulling into VWAP yet, but that's 175. So Apple, Amazon, both looking for some trends back into into VWAP, let's just say. And I'm still not yet short Intel, but if this breaks VWAP and holds underneath, market's losing highs, Intel could be losing somewhat adjacent to its lows, let's just say. So I am still looking for either a breakdown of 225 or consolidation short underneath VWAP. Those are what's next. And yeah, apologies for not. We haven't talked any crypto today. No 60,000 break, so boo, first of all, Bitcoin. I felt like if this market rally had coincided with a 60,000 break on Bitcoin, so many things look good. Mara could have broken out this top, which you can see hasn't happened. But Mara doesn't always need that to go. So if we do break higher on BTC, Mara looks fantastic for a consolidation breakout trade. But until that happens, you just got to wait. The thing about a breakout trade is you can put the order and you can wait for it, but if we never take out that high, then I don't make the trade. That simple.
And yeah, simple does it. That's the best way to trade. Okay, so here's Google. We are sitting here at 80s to get that fill. It just dropped into 75 and bounced off that. I was waiting for lower. I mean, but it's been the low of the day right here. So we take that from the highs to the lows. We should probably think about getting another piece out. Still have a decent spot on for that one. So we'll wait to see if Google will fill us down here. I'm bidding 85s. Hold on, just got a text there. I'm bidding 83s actually on Google. Maybe we'll switch it up, but there it is. Nice little bounce up. I think the market could turn on itself a little bit here. We are starting to bounce back down. We just hit off 19.5. I mean, this market was dead for a couple minutes there, down near 19,000. Now finally starting to breathe some life back into it with big trades today, obviously on Amazon, as that's up 3.5%. Still waiting for Google to go up. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but that's a nice one there for Amazon. We didn't look at all. And this is how I trade. We already mentioned, I told you earlier, the only name that I'll be looking at chip-wise will be NVIDIA today. And it's a good thing that we did that because, as I mentioned to you, it's a monster. AMD has been a monster too. AMD bouncing off VWAP. I mean, what a great trade that's been. This might have even been better. Can't trade it all, but we will trade them. AMD on radar now. Great opportunities right there. You know, the best asset that Intel ever had was its ARM shares, and they sold them. So that's bad for Intel and fine for ARM, as ARM right now starting to go back up to the upside, 128 and change, 130 coming through for ARM. That dip by opportunity down at 100. That name got hit down. I mean, again, if you think like what goes up, by the way, there's Google right there. Let's spin it. That's another $1 for you on Google as we just get that fill as the market try to turn down. ARM goes from 190 top. If you held that ARM, which probably many did, obviously, it happened too quick, 190 all the way down to, let's just say, forget about 98. You know, we don't want to say this got chopped in half because, A, that bottom is hard to get. But even if you talk about 110, losing $80 almost in a straight line there for ARM kind of shows you exactly what can happen if there is some negative sentiment into some of these positive areas.
That thing is so expensive.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
So
like some of these bump ups here and some of these names, even Nike and Starbucks and all that, there's just so much positivity that if there's a negative story that comes through, you're going to see all these bears come in and pile on right now because it's just so up on some of these kind of, and it's great to see JC there using words that we talk about all the time, fugazi there when he's talking about the market.
A lot of that
like that, and that's exactly what I always say too. This market is exactly that. It's a fugazi. And we had a rant earlier. Glad to have that discussion there with JC as well. So what a great day. Thank you, Bears vs. Bulls, and everybody in the chat.
It's 11. We know it's been fun, but we're going to be back here at 2 o'clock, of course, and then the aftermarket. Oh, by the way, the aftermarket show. Danielle's feeling better. She's going to be back on it, so she's over.
She was traveling.
She was ill. No, she got sick when she got back. So she was,
I thought she was traveling.
She was in Vegas for a show, and then she got ill when she came back, but she's feeling great. She'll be back on the aftermarket show tonight. But let's head on over to the midday. We've got Sharif. We've got Adara. Get your learn on, everybody.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as the Midday Show. That is your girl, Adara.